time, I'd like to call to order the regular May meeting of the Seawood School Board. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call of the Board of Trustees. Skip. Billy? Here. Stephanie?
Here.
I'm here. Ben? Fran?
Here.
Tony? Jennifer?
Here.
And Dan? Having seated 8 out of our 8 members, we have satisfied the requirements for a quorum, and we will hold tonight's meeting. We'll start first with any recognition of visitors or any announcements from our superintendent.
We have one lone representative, Bradford's here to help support us with the AI Task Force presentation today. And we'll be doing that here during the informational portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. All right, at this time, open the floor up front here for, is there any board comment? Open comment on any items that aren't on tonight's agenda or announcements from the board. I want to publicly recognize and thank the district office and numerous staff members, and of course the leadership of Mr. Conan for the work and the research and the math and all the work and calculations that Linda did as well in preparation to run a tech levy. And of course the levy was run, and we know how that came out. And minimize the work that went behind it. Appreciate district office and the staff there. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. This is the time to comment on matters that are not on the agenda. Topics for public comment do not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. The board cannot enter into any discussion during general public comment. The board may occasionally ask questions to clarify public comment, or the board may correct inaccurate statements if warranted. Is there any public comment? Please state your name for the camera.
My name is Kate Gibbons. I represent American Legion Post 94 here in Stevensville. And I'd just like to announce that some people do know about it already, but we got a donation, and we are going to use that donation to purchase a flag and install it at the baseball fields. It will have a cement base to it, and the flag pole will be somewhere between 21 and 25 feet tall with an appropriate size flag, and it's going to be lighted by Dave Hackey.
Thank you.
It won't happen probably till the end of June, but it's gonna happen.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Sure. Further public comment?
I'm Vanessa Lennox. I'm actually here to advocate for the band students. So, my son is a junior, and he's in a band in 5th grade. And he has a group of very talented musicians and friends. And I feel like they're slighted a lot. And this was like really made true. We went to state on May 1st. My husband and I both drove. We got there, and all the other schools had like their fancy buses, and they had the names of the kids on them. It was like big support and encouragement. And our school had an old broken down bus. Exhaust from the middle, off those. It was missing seats. The seats that were there were not like appropriate seating. The other thing about the band trip is that most of the kids that were there spent the night in Helena. Our kids had to be out by 3:30 here at 5 o'clock. I mean, and they had to perform at 8:30. So they had no time to rest or like catch their breath or anything. They were asked to perform right away. And despite that, despite the fact they had a horrific bus ride, a lot of them had headaches. And I don't know, like, the safety factor of that is like carbon dioxide poisoning from the exhaust. And despite that, all 12 students who went to band state band got 1s. 1 is the highest honor you can receive. Most of them, out of 30, almost got perfect scores. Some of them got 30s. The other ones got at least 28 or 20. And I just feel like and then they got no recognition. Like, before they left, there was no recognition. When they came back, there was no recognition. And I feel like if it was our football team, if it was our basketball team, it would have been like a huge fanfare. But because it's banned, it's not as important, and I don't think that's fair. Because, I mean, not that I'm against sports, I go to every football game, I go to every basketball game to support our students. But everybody has a different outlet, everybody has a different passion, and so we have to support those students. And I don't know if you guys have heard that, but like, my son, Zayden Severin, Otis, I mean, they are amazing musicians. And everybody who hears them play. I mean, the man that was their judge in Helena was like so impressed with them. And I just feel like they deserve more people, like more support. I don't want them to quit, I don't want them to give up. But they feel like nobody cares about band because it's not a sport. But it's, I mean, they're amazingly talented. And even we offered for the past 3 years, my husband and I, to buy matching band shirts. That's another thing, we go to these other competitions, these other schools have matching shirts, matching pants. Some of them have formal wear that they wear, tuxedos, dresses that are all matching. We don't have a lot of shirts that they have to purchase themselves. Finally, for the first time this year, we got t-shirts for the pep band because of that. And I feel like our kids are being slighted that way. And I really hope it will change for the future students coming up. I mean, my son's a junior, so I only have one more year. But I feel like it's an important part of our school. And even if you go to the game without pep band, it'd be kind of boring, you know? I mean, they kind of lay up the games, and so I just hope that maybe you'll consider like more funding going towards the band, or at least more recognition. Like, I feel like when they left, they played auditions, and like their name should have been said, or like when they came back. Like, congratulations to these students who went, who made it to state and got perfect scores, basically. So, thank you for hearing my comments, I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing. It probably will feel very hollow that you're not going to be able to feedback for us.
That's okay.
Well, you stated some important things.
I would like, can I say something?
And
It's not really, I mean, it's just more of a, just a general comment. Sure. Yeah. I just wanted you to know that, I think the band is amazing. You know, I followed my daughter around for basketball, all the basketball season, and everywhere we went, our band was the best. We really were.
further public comment. Oh, yeah.
So I'm here to advocate for the softball, high school, my name is Amber Davis. I'm here to advocate for the girls softball team, high school varsity, JV softball teams. A high school football field is a rectangular playing field with a required length of 100 yards, with each end zone having an extra 10 yards and a width of 53.3 yards. It's not 99 yards long or 130 yards long, it's 100 yards long. The basketball court is 84 feet by 50 feet, with a 3-point line at 19 feet 9 inches and a key width of 12 feet. The height of the basketball rim is 10 feet. The court is not 80 by 40, the rim is not 9 feet 10 inches, it's 10 feet. A high school softball field features a diamond shape with with bases 60 feet apart and pitching distance of 43 feet from the rubber to the home plate. The key dimensions of the field are base distance. The distance between each base is 60 feet. Pitching distance, the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate is 43 feet. Outfield fence distance. The distance to the outfield fence can vary significantly, generally ranging from 150 to 220 feet from the home plate. Foul lines, which are the lines from the base run to the dugouts. The distance from home plate to the left and right field foul lines is typically 310 feet from high school fields. The distance helps define the fair territory and impacts the strategies employed by batters and fielders. The distance from the tip of the home plate to the backstop is minimum of 25 feet with a maximum of 30 feet. The distance from the pitcher's rubber to the edge of the grass is 60 feet. Distance from the foul line to the dugout is 25 with a max of 30. Here are the measurements for our current field. From the tip of the home plate to the backstop is 31 feet, the max is 30. The distance from the pitcher's rubber to the grass line is 70 feet. That's a difference of 10 feet. The distance from the foul line to the dugout is 42. That's a difference of 12 feet. This can easily manipulate the outcome of the game. The other field that the softball players were playing on, I'm not sure if everyone's aware that they made us move out to the baseball field, and we are now playing on a baseball diamond, not a softball diamond. That's the one out there. The one over here that the softball players were playing on and forced to leave was well within regulations, except for the fence out in the field. We do not understand the reasoning behind the players being forced to play on a field that was originally a baseball field that someone attempted to convert into a softball field. If the field was a regulation field, it would not be such a big deal. We would not require the other sports programs to plan a field or a court that is not regulation. We shouldn't force the softball players either. It would be easier for us to move back and fix the fence. We don't know why we have been forced out to the other field. Could it be because of a scoreboard donation, a scoreboard that can be moved? Side note, the JV players at our last varsity game were asked to run the scoreboard. When they had to go warm up, that little device was then handed to a coach who was actively coaching and had to run that scoreboard. And then had to hand it off to a coach who's actually coaching the varsity game. There should have been someone to assign to that task. Then the scoreboard stopped working in the middle of the JV game altogether. I would also like to add that while our JV girls were warming up on the adjacent field next to our field, a Little League team came and kicked them off the field so they could warm up for their game. Parking lot was a disaster. People were getting blocked in, they were parking 3 deep. There were no markings, no nothing. It was such a mess. We had to ask people to move their cars so that our players and our coaches could get out. And last night at the high school softball varsity practice, a Little League coach came and approached our softball head coach, telling him they had the field reserved at 6 and that we needed to leave. And it was only for a 10U softball practice. My family has been a part of Stevensville school community for 15 years. I've had all my kids play sports here. This is my oldest, and constantly they played all the sports, every one of them. And during that time, we have consistently supported both academics and athletics within the district. I'm concerned about the constant direction and consistency of the athletic programs. Over the years, I have heard numerous promises from staff and coaches that were ultimately not implemented or were later denied by the school board. This pattern has been difficult to understand and has raised concerns among families who value athletics as part of the student experience. We have also observed situations where strong coaching staff have stepped away and talented student athletes have chosen to transfer to other schools. This trend raises questions about whether the current structure is effective, supporting both coaches and athletes. My daughter is currently a sophomore and a dedicated, talented softball player who has participated in the sports since childhood. She is deeply committed to the program and still has 2 years remaining in her high school career. However, due to ongoing concerns, she's now considering transferring schools. We respectfully ask the school board to consider how current decisions and policies are impacting student athletes and their families. Athletics play an important role in student engagement and school community, and it's important that athletes feel supported and valued. I do have a diagram of the softball field and what they're supposed to be, and I can hand that out to any of you guys if you'd like to have that. I do have another letter from a softball supporter. Her husband spends a lot of time taking care of the fields that should be maintained by the school that are not. As a longtime community member and supporter, my husband and I have been major contributors to the growth of the softball and baseball programs in Stevensville for 19 years. We are passionate about the kids, the sports, and our program. It has grown into a fabulous program and will continue to grow. We need to consider the growth and have a bigger dream for our high school students to encourage participation. The Little League programs are building these future high school players. These kids are learning so much about teamwork, communication, leadership, respect, mindset, and so much more. The young players idolize the older kids, and it's amazing to witness. The ALC fields were established and maintained by Little League. They were never intended for high school sports. It would be awesome to have them all in one area, but I don't think we have a large enough area. We're just getting by, and we can do better. I went to the first softball game on the ALC field, which, by the way, was our final game of the year. at home. They were never intended for high schools, or excuse me, a scoreboard that is awesome, but the community has been saying they would pitch in for one at the other field. A shed has been placed behind a dugout and makes absolutely no sense. It is where people walk. A lot of money was spent on the batting cages for the girls. When it was on our field, it was easy to keep small children from playing on, but not here with the general public. I saw kids playing in the mulch, hanging on netting with no supervision. There are also 2 entrances, so half of the people attending got in for free. So much for having to move the ticket booth. Parking was also an issue with people blocking people in. There was not a designated person to run the scoreboard. A JV player was asked to do the scoreboard while their role should be watching and cheering on the varsity team, not to run the scoreboard. They asked me to do it and finally found a parent who was there to watch their child play. This was during the JV game. Then it stopped working. So much for having the scoreboard. There is such a shortage for practice field time for Little League, and girls cannot have a longer practice if they're working on something important when I finish. High school players are supposed to be finished and off the field promptly at 6 because of all these city leagues coming in. They should be able to practice when they want for as long as they want. Recently, a 10U parent approached our team at 6 p.m. confrontational and rude as the girls were not completely off the field. We have an amazing we have an amazing community in Stevensville, and we could accomplish so much with common goals and leadership. I really want someone to ask questions, get the history, have a common goal, and make this a bigger, better program and facility. The last thing I'd like to say is that tonight, there was even confusion. 2 city league teams showed up again at the field needing to play a game, and they were not told where they were supposed to go, so the coaches had to make a phone call and tell them where they needed to go. So, thank you.
Right? Further public comments? Yes.
This is Hackey, maintenance supervisor here at Stephenville School. I wanted to put out to the softball, I spent a lot of effort because they gave me a list and I went through the list, check by check. The dugouts weren't good enough. I spent a month and a half out there rebuilding the dugout to what spec they wanted. I measured the bases off of their sheet, measured the home plate to the backstop, that's 30 feet and a half inch off of my measurement to the back of the backstop. I measured everything out that I could for that. The fence is set at 200 feet on the right field, 199 on the left field for a 200-foot fence was what requested. We put in that brand new fence for them because they didn't want that. I just wanted to say that the maintenance department did a lot for that, but softball to move there on their request, and I've never denied any of it. I just wanted to put that out on that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Other further public comment on tonight's agenda? All right, we will move on to our consent agenda tonight. Consent agenda is organized into 3 sections: credit card payments, approval of claims, and approval of minutes. Items on tonight's consent agenda have been organized as such due to their similar nature and have been deemed unlikely by the superintendent board chair to require individual discussion. We'll start first with credit card payments. As a reminder, these are items that have already been paid as per board directive to pay credit card balances prior to board approval. So does any board member have any questions about these items that have already been paid? These are Visa claims 43,482 through 43,494, totaling $14,806.64. All right, does any member of the public have any questions about the district's credit card claims? All right, we'll move on to the approval of regular claims. These are number 43,495 through 43,578 for a total of $460,958.58. These claims have not been paid and are subject to the full review and oversight of the board. Does any trustee have any questions about tonight's claims?
Can I make one interjection?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. We did change one claim because we were able to settle an issue with Bitterroot Star this morning. So on claim 43575 to Bitterroot Star, We are removing the $276 for the kindergarten ad. There was some confusion and the Star has waived that and has done that ad for free for us. So so there is a new total then if we were to take the Star off of that, which is $460,682.15.
Okay, very good.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so again, these are claims 43,495 to 43,578, new total of $460,000, 682.15. And so does any trustee wish to remove an individual claim from tonight's consent agenda? Oh, yeah.
I'd like to remove claim number 43569 from the consent agenda for tonight.
Okay. All right. And then for further follow-up later, but Mr. Johnson, yes, Brandon?
I just have two observations and comments to make on the student accounts. I noticed that for the last several months, the class of 2028 does not have anything in their account. Not sure why that is. They will be juniors next year who will be responsible for junior prom. And so I've noted in the past that the senior class, when they're finished with all of their receipts, usually allocate that, I think, to the upcoming freshmen. Is that how they do it? I would like a consideration to be made for the seniors to allocate that to the junior class, the class of 2028, since they do not have a balance. I feel like it might affect their prom coming up the next year. I would also like to again point out that we have money for the pay to play that has been sitting there. I think I'm looking for it right now, $7,700 that has been sitting there when we were doing pay to play. And I feel like that would be a good contribution to go towards our trophy case. The pay to play, because the trophy case benefits all athletes and the school in general, I think that is a good allocation of those funds that have been sitting there for several years.
Right, Fran, do we know anything about the soccer class or anything?
I can't speak for where their balance is right now. I think that would be one where we would want to talk to the sponsors and come up with an agreement on how to transfer that money. But I'll definitely I'd like to take that suggestion to the sponsors and say, here's a.
When I was a sponsor, we ran into a problem. The senior class has to vote on how that money is moved. There was money left over in accounts when that didn't happen, that were like these little nickels and dimes. So I think that, the right thing to do is just advise the senior class that they need to make a decision, whatever that might be, whether it's to move to freshman or whatever. But if you don't do it, it sits in those weird accounts.
Because I think it goes back to general fund.
It has to sit 2 years. By board policy, it has to sit 2 years with no activity in the swap. There's board policy. Yeah, that is correct. All right, thanks all. All right, further questions? Questions from the public? All right, and let's see. And then lastly, we'll move on to recent minutes. Tonight, you have minutes in front of you from our April meeting, right, Linda?
Yes.
Right, so we've got our April regular meeting board minutes. Hold them up here, and are there corrections or questions about minutes? All right. Trustee approval of the consent agenda only pertains to those items the trustees legally have the right to approve under 2-3-202 of Montana Code Annotated. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as presented and with claim 43,569, health at this time, and then claim 43,575 adjusted by $200. Is there any objection to it? Seeing none, consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to the approval of employment. All employment is pending the completion of satisfactory background checks. All coaches are pending satisfactory completion of NHSA requirements. Tonight we'll be approving volunteers. Any volunteer approved by the board at tonight's meeting are subject to board policy 5430 and serve at the discretion of the district. Board approval authorizes an individual to volunteer, including a coaching role, that does not establish a specific timeline or guarantee defined length of service in the volunteer role. We'll start first with district-wide staff being recommended for hire as the Infinite Campus Coordinator. In addition to the current job is Kate Cardoza, Curriculum Coordinator Beth Schreiber, and Custodian Stephen Hong.
Ben, could we do substitutes first, please?
Oh, I will do substitutes first.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No,
Skip
you're good.
substitutes, yeah. Let's do substitutes first, district-wide, Bradley Armour and Laura Parsons. And we'll handle that with its own motion, since it's its own action item. The floor is open for motion. Billy?
Second.
Second by Jennifer. All those, questions from the board? Questions from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to district-wide staff, Infinite Campus Administrator Kate Cardoza, Curriculum Coordinator Beth Schreiber, Custodian Stephen Conklin. Floor is open for a motion.
So moved.
Jennifer? Seconded by Tony. Questions from the board? Questions from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. In our elementary district, being recommended for middle school head volleyball coach is Kyla Franson, Case School head volleyball coach as well. Clayton Curley, middle school head football coach. Stephen Curley, middle school head football coach. Derek Berkeley, middle school assistant football coach. Zeph Larson, middle school ELA PE health teacher, and you'll find information about Mr. Larson in your packet about his background. We're excited to have him come on board. And Mr. Jess, and I'm going to ask for help with his last name.
Jepai.
Jepai, our new being recommended elementary assistant principal coming from Frenchtown. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So again, there's information in your packet about these individuals, certified individuals' background and what they're bringing to our district. So is there a motion to offer employment to these elementary district individuals?
I move to approve the elementary district staff as presented.
Stephanie? Second. Seconded by Billy. Questions from the board? Questions from the public?
Ben, can I make a comment?
Yes,
please?
please.
As we're moving through this, I just wanted to thank Nicole Euler, Vicki Motley, Janny Nixon, CJ Paulson, Beth Schreiber, Vanessa Lennon, and Melissa Blessington. They were all a part of my interview committee as we ran those assistant principal interviews. That is quite the task. We were there all day. We had a lot of moving conversations, but I felt like a lot of productive conversations, and so a lot of good things. Yeah, we're hiring Jess Jepai, which I'm really excited about. He's an experienced elementary educator. He has a lot of experience in the elementary world, and he's in Frenchtown, so I'm really excited to have him on board. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? All right, Dan, how do you vote? And Tony, how do you vote? Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie? Billy? Aye. And Skip? Aye. Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to high school district employment. Being recommended for art teacher is Lily Prince. Hannah Williams recommended for health enhancement teacher. Michelle Meyer, remedial instruction. Trinity Frank, volunteer volleyball coach. Dakota Wilton, head cheer coach. Sheridan Newsom Schultz, assistant cheer coach. Joey Ward, head golf coach. Josette Hackett, assistant golf coach. Aaron Schaefer, head volleyball. Cassie Kopska, assistant volleyball. Ian Johnson, assistant volleyball. Nicole Euler, volunteer assistant volleyball. Jack Zilla, head football coach. Brad Armour, assistant football coach. Sean Lenahan, assistant football coach. Luke Thomason, volunteer assistant football coach. DJ Clark, boys head soccer coach. Kathy Cook, assistant boys soccer coach. David Gross, head girls soccer coach. Eric Lund, volunteer assistant football coach. Robert Wright, volunteer assistant football coach. Kellen Yockey, assistant girls soccer coach. Michaela Squire, foreign language teacher. Zeph Larson, summer school English. Wes Wells, Summer School Social Studies, Chris Talbot, Summer School Math, Trevor Motley, Senior Class Sponsor, Margaret Zilla, Senior Class Sponsor, Wes Wells, Junior Class Sponsor, Jackie Bauman, Sophomore Class Sponsor, Casey Ferguson, Sophomore Class Sponsor, Aaron Schaefer, Freshman Class Sponsor, and Amy Paxton, Freshman Class Sponsor. I will be abstaining from this vote as per Board Policy 1425. Is there,
I'll make a motion that we accept employment for the high school district as presented.
thank you, Fran, is there a second? Seconded by Tony. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All right, Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
I abstain. Fran?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
And Dan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I
Jen?
get to vote on
Oh, I'm sorry, yes you do.
that, and I vote aye.
Thank you. All right, I didn't need to call for that. I will vote. Thank you. Motion carries, 7 in favor, 1. All right, thank you. All right, we have 2 district-wide resignations. We're being asked to accept Tamara Malding as custodian and Stephen Conklin in a long-term custodian substitute position. And we of course saw that name earlier and know why there. So the floor is open for a motion. District-wide.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation district-wide as presented.
Fran,
Second.
seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor of accepting the resignations as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. 1 elementary district resignation, 3rd grade teacher David Corrales. Floor is open.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation for the elementary district as presented.
Fran,
Second.
seconded by Stephanie. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? Skip, how do you vote on accepting this resignation?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. Stephanie? I vote aye. Fran?
Aye.
Tony? Dan?
Aye.
All right, motion carried, resignation accepted. We'll move on to informational items. Led first by student body representative and an update from the Stevensville student body from Keegan Hackett.
I have to schedule that, so I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, guys, this is my last student body representative report. Jeez, words today. So I hope you guys enjoy it. So starting off with softball. The softball team had a super fun and successful season so far. Recently picking up wins against Dillon, freshman Morales. The team has continued to show strong teamwork and determination throughout the year. FFA members recently hosted Farm Fair, welcoming around 370 fourth grade students. The event was made possible through the efforts of 52 high school students who helped teach about agriculture and lead activities for those younger students. In track and field, Reagan broke her own school record this season, after previously breaking the school record. Reagan, along with Sophie and Eva, have all qualified for the state competition. DECA recently celebrated its graduating seniors and incoming officers. Members also competed at nationals, McKenna Monroe and Adelaide Meyer. They both did independent business plan and human resources management. I wanted to touch on prom recently because it's an important event. This year's prom was, I think, a major success as an attendee and a memorable night for students. The masquerade theme brought a unique atmosphere and stood out as something truly original and fun. I don't think I've ever heard of any other school doing that before, so I think we're pretty cool for that. At CCLA, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America members have qualified for nationals and are currently working to secure funding for the trip. So if there's any questions about that, I would love to bring you guys to somebody who knows more about me because I'm not at CCLA. And I'm going to end this with state music. Students performed exceptionally well at the state music competition. Everett, Dell, Zane, the sax quartet, and the brass choir all received the highest marks. And so we received superior marks for required achievements as well. Yeah, what do you guys like to say? Representative.
Thank you, Tegan, for your reports throughout the year. Thank you to student council who helped prepare that, bring that together, and Mr. King, I think, for some involvement in preparing those past couple of years too. So the reports have been deeply appreciated and well presented, so thank you.
Tegan, you are always the bright spots at each meeting. I really appreciate you.
All right, questions for the student body report from the public board? All right, we'll move on to item B, which is update on the high school from Mr. King.
Okay. It's no fair to have to follow Tegan, Mr. Young. So as you guys have the handout, there's a lot going on at the high school, especially in May at a high school. But if you look, we break them up by goals. So goal 1 is our student achievement. You can see we're right in the middle of testing season right now. Our kids are AP testing. We just finished up ACT testing and IXL testing. So the end of the year testing for math and English starts next week. So a lot of assessment gauging where we're at and where we're going on that. I won't redo all of the competition information. I think Tegan did a great job of highlighting what our kids have done. We also, of course, have National History Day, 25 qualifiers at state. We have 4 qualifiers for national. We, the people, of course, went and competed with a small but mighty team. Ended up getting 40th out of 47, but we only had 4 kids. Some teams showed up with 37 kids. All right, so to be able to go and make a dent is a big thing right there. We had speech and debate kids who qualified. Math, so we went and competed in math, and we took 5th place overall, and 1 individual qualified for state. Choir and band, of course, we touched on those, got excellent ratings. Those programs continue to succeed statewide, absolutely. Goal 2. All right, goal 2 is just making sure we're recognizing just how much our staff works to get better at their craft. And so if you look at that list of the professional development, going to be transparent. That's the professional development that was reported by people who wanted to respond to my email. All right. There's probably a lot more professional development than is reported right there. But our staff has, they do a lot of professional development on their own. They do a lot of professional development that's directed by us. But for the most part, a lot of this professional development happens by necessity in order for them to be able to be in charge of the clubs that they're in, or to be able to teach the classes that they're teaching. Goal 3, family and community engagement. All right, if you're looking for something to do, we've got plenty of opportunities for you guys to come hang out with us over the next couple of weeks. All right, choir concert, band concert next week, choir concert 2 days from now on the 14th, FFA banquet the following day. So if you're just looking for a cheap date to take your wife and get fed, or your husband, this is a good place to do it. All right. Then business mock interviews. Okay, we have 2 opportunities there where businesses will be coming in and giving our students mock interviews. So a lot going on towards the end of the year. Charter schools. We invited our parents who are interested in charter school 2 weeks ago. That was very well attended in April. We had a full house in the library, so there's a lot of interest. I know that there's another charter school report, so I won't steal any thunder, but we're going to definitely have interest in that charter school. Trophy cases and booster club. Fran, I'm glad you brought up that fund. All right, so between that fund as well as the money that's set aside in the trophy fund, and then thank goodness to our booster club. Our booster club put in quite an event, all right, at one of our baseball games, and they raised $3,000 for that effort, which means I think we're very, very close to on our way to being able to do this thing. Okay, so I would anticipate that you start to see a trophy case being built relatively soon. Graduation. All right, we're hoping for 77. Okay, right now I feel pretty confident about 75 of them. All right, and we're doing everything we can to get every one of them across the stage. One thing you'll notice that's a little bit different this year is our honor graduates. So we began the year with, there's a difference between how the schools acknowledge their graduates in the valley. Some schools have like 14 valedictorians. All right, we have a single valedictorian, a single salutatorian. We wanted to find a way to acknowledge the students who weren't necessarily valedictorian, but they took all the hard classes and they did all the things that they needed to do and they met a certain requirement. Those students this year, you'll see them, instead of wearing the black robes with the gold, they'll be wearing gold robes with the black. All right, so those will be your honor graduates. And I think that'll be a nice touch. That'll really signify that those students, even if they weren't valedictorian or salutatorian, they did something pretty special this year. Unique this year, even going out to the thousands place, we had a tie for salutatorian. All right, I have not seen a lot of ties in my career. All right, I left you guys with a handout that looks like this. Remember, it's a unique year this year in the fact that our graduation is at the end of the school year instead of the week before. All right, so if you look at that, you can kind of see what are all of the activities that our seniors will be doing and what does the last 2 weeks at the high school look like as we bring this thing home to the finish line. So that was a friendly reminder that you're more than welcome to come help at any of those events. Okay. Let's go back to our family and engagement. Prom, I agree with Tegan, prom was fantastic. All right, our kids did great. The venue was wonderful. There was a couple ditches to navigate, and I did not fall in once, so I'm very proud of myself. Parent-teacher committee, guys, thanks. That was a great week. All right, we thoroughly enjoyed how you guys treated us this last week as teachers. I'm not a teacher, but I sure ate like one, so thank you. Our National Honor Society did a blood drive, and Thursday, we're releasing a bunch of trout that have been growing in our science classroom for the last couple of months. So we have fun times, fun things that are happening on our campus. So teachers are working hard. Yes, athletics update. You know, we have our baseball, softball are winding it down. All right, our track, we're expected maybe 13 athletes to qualify. We have 3 for sure, and the other 10, we're really hoping that we get those through the district competition. All right, and then tennis, we're expecting to send 2 athletes to state this year. Hiring, we feel like we're in a good place for the fall. Currently interviewing and working on the cross country and the girls basketball positions. We just interviewed for those this last week. We made an offer, and one has been accepted for cross country. We feel like we're going to have a good team of coaches there, and we are currently waiting on a response for an offer on our head girls basketball coach. So we feel like we're in a good place moving forward on that. Any questions? I went fast. There's a lot there, but high school's in May. There's a lot going on. Brent?
I have a couple of things. One, do we know what the cost is on the trophy case?
The last bid that was given to us was $17,000. That would be for one that is kind of prefabricated, installed. We think we can do it cheaper with some volunteer help. So if you add those numbers, I think we're very close.
Okay. The other thing is I want to recognize our community that helped with parent-teacher, the teacher appreciation week. We could not have done it without our amazing community that came together. The food donations, the gift donations to ensure that every staff member on staff, everybody, all administrators, everybody got a gift. And so that could not have been done without the generous contributions from our community. And I would ask that the staff watch for next week. There will be a flyer in each of the staff lounges acknowledging who those businesses are so that you will know and be able to thank them for their contribution to celebrate our staff. And my last thing, Mr. King, is on the behavioral referrals. Can you tell me what length of time that is of the 320?
That's from the beginning of the school year till now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Further questions from the board? Questions from the public on our informational update about policy? Yes, please state your name and your.
My name is Kay Gibbons. Mr. Kenny, could you tell me the date and the time of the band concert as well as the time of the choir concert?
I can't.
Choir concert is up there.
Yes.
It's got our receipt, so
Yeah.
6:30.
Seven is the concert.
Yeah.
7 o'clock on that, May 14th.
Yes, this Thursday.
Right.
And the band concert is next Thursday at 7,
Next Thursday.
the 21st.
Okay, thank you.
And it's middle school and high school.
Further questions or comments from the public? All right, thank you again, Mr. Keeney. We'll move on to item C, presentation from the AI task force. I know this group has been working hard, putting in a lot of hours. And so, Mr. Cohen and somebody.
Hi, good evening. I'm John Conan, Superintendent. We want to talk a little bit tonight about our AI task force. This last year, legislation came out on policy recommendations for artificial intelligence and putting it into policy. And when we started taking a look at the recommendations, we felt like we needed to do a little bit of research and background information before we started making a decision on what it's going to look like in our classrooms and with our teachers and students for AI. And so we'll talk more about that here in a sec with how many people were part of this committee and part of this task force. But we want to talk about the mission, the timeline, and talk about our policy recommendations that we gave to the policy committee, as well as talking about some universal classroom guidelines that we are putting in place. With that, Bradford Sheds has supported us all throughout the time. I don't know if you missed one, so thank you for being there all the time.
Yeah, so AI use is ubiquitous throughout the high school at least. Teachers are using it to make assignments or help make assignments, to help make assessments, to help write emails. Students are using it to help them study for assignments, and unfortunately things like cheating as well. So we thought it was important that we develop some clear policies and guidelines for both students and teachers to use AI in a way that is most conducive to helping education rather than undermining.
We had, at one point, I think, when we first started, I think we had 18 people that were part of this task force, ranging from some students and community members, parents, public parents that came to several meetings, and we had both classified and certified staff that were part of this, as well as administration. And we have one board member too, Tony. Thank you, Mr. Hudson, for being a part of several of those meetings. And
Also our local tech expert, Orion, and also remotely some AI experts, which was very useful.
yeah, Montana Digital Academy has a grant through the state to try to get information out to our schools and to our public on artificial intelligence and how it's being used in schools. They offer free professional development, and we had several of them that took part in a book study. So we felt like a little bit of background that we could develop was through a actual book. And is this part that you want to do?
So yeah, we formed that team. Again, all the stakeholders that were interested in showing up in many segments, like we said, for that. So we did a book study. We looked at a contemporary, it was written in the last, year, 2 years?
Yeah, last year.
So, very modern book, which talked about all the aspects specifically relating to education that are really relevant. So we researched, we found I think we developed ultimately a good policy and recommended it and some guidelines for teachers.
Thanks, Ryan. We're going to break it up into 3 different policies. One is dealing with AI to discipline and what happens if there's academic dishonesty. We'll talk about staff usage of the technology, artificial intelligence, and we are kind of getting a preview to what is on the board agenda later today, because we have 3 policies that we recommended to the policy committee. Policy committee went through them and accepted those, and you'll see those going forward today for your approval later in the meeting tonight. So this first one deals with student discipline and engaging in dishonesty. I'm just going to read this. You can go ahead and read from the slide, and this is added information that goes in policy 3310. 3310, as you know, is student discipline. It's a really long policy that deals with all different types of discipline within our schools. This one, obviously, adding this paragraph in here, dealing with plagiarism, cheating, and unauthorized use of AI applications to complete schoolwork, submitting work generated by AI as original work, or any other form of academic dishonesty. Originally, when we started looking at this, we looked at several policies across the United States. And Montana School Board Association had one that was very well detailed. We felt like as we got into it, that we would have to be, as a school, coming back to that all the time to keep updating it. The funny thing about the book is that that book, which is probably outdated now, that we used for our studying of the artificial intelligence. Same with the policy. And so what we wanted to do was go back and look at how the laws policy that was more generalized. And we feel like it could be put in place as we move forward, and we'll probably revisit this routinely. And so we looked at the more generalized one because all the rest of the policies we looked at were so specific. We felt like that almost was time periods that things will change within a year for this parts of those policies to not be able to work within our school system. And so we're recommending this more generalized policy from federal law for student discipline. This next one is on district provided access to the with electronic information. We use this for an acceptable use policy. And again, this kind of goes into some of the same variations that we talked about in the last one. This one, students have to sign in their student handbook at the beginning of the year acceptable use policy in order for them to be able to be online. And so this has a more of a generalized wording to it, but we felt like fit what our goal was of being able to help keep students and staff safe, as well as being able to start utilizing artificial intelligence in our classrooms and providing some boundaries and guidelines to go with it. The next one is for electronic resources and social networking. This one talks a little bit about how teachers can use or staff members can use artificial intelligence. One of the biggest things that we found with artificial intelligence is the ability to plan and differentiate instruction in the classrooms, as well as personal productivity. There are so many pieces personally that I use AI for to help support. As I go through, I've been using a more secure environment underneath our Google platform called Gemini, and that's what a lot of our staff have been using. We are going to recommend as we move forward here, moving to an even more secure artificial intelligence platform, and pretty much only allowing kids to use, it's called School AI, and they have a lot of the same platform ability within it, and it's built for educators, and it is something that I think as we roll it out, we're going to bring information to the board, to our public, and to our staff to make sure everyone understands why we're moving in that direction. We want to be able to allow for AI use in classrooms up to the teacher to be able to do that. And this policy, 5460, kind of lays that out a little bit for our professionals. This next piece talks about the classroom, and I'll let Brad, you can talk about this section here.
Yeah, so early in our discussion, it became very clear that the answer wasn't just, can you use it or can't you? There are definitely levels to this. So in our recommendations for teachers or guidelines, we have a numbered system from 0 AI use, just you can't use AI, all the way up to sort of not full unrestricted use, but I suppose we'll go through. So here again, 0 use, no disclosure is required to the teacher because it's not being used at all. 1, AI assisted idea generation and structuring. So this is when you're planning, when you're trying to think of how to write a paper or structure it. Things like that can be used at level 1. And an AI disclosure statement must be used alongside that. Number 2, AI assisted editing. You have already completed your assignment, but you are allowed to use AI to help with things like formatting, structure, things that are changing the work but are not like introducing any new ideas at that point. AI is for specific task completion. So this is, the teacher can say, yeah, you can use this for this one particular piece of the assignment, but nothing else. Full AI use with human oversight. So this is, you can use AI to whatever extent you want, but you are still responsible for the output of that AI. You must look at what it created, approve of it, and it is sort of understood that this wasn't, the scope of the assignment was that AI can be used to that extent. And of course, with all these, anything above level 0 requires a disclosure, and these higher levels have also included things like you must include a link or a transcript of your chat with the AI.
Right, again, citing proper references has been a thing that we've done for years, and trying not to use other people's information as our own without giving it proper citation. And so, same thing, we're using some of the same concepts that teachers have used forever on that research for instruction. Now it's with AI. That's the great thing about School AI. School AI allows you as a teacher and administrator to be able to see the student's complete chat history, so you know exactly what they've been researching and looking at, as well as if you ask School AI to give them the assignment and tell them to do the assignment for you, it'll stop you and say, I cannot do that, but here's what I can tell you, right? And so a little different from ChatGPT, where ChatGPT will kick out parts of your assignment for you, and some of these other types of that are out there. And one of the pieces that you may have heard about in the news was last month a student created what's called an agentic bot. And so an agentic bot is a platform like an application that will do something for you. Once something is triggered, it'll automatically put all these other things in place. And so the students a month ago, this is outside of Montana, but created a agentic bot for the classroom environment. So whenever a teacher posted something in their Google Classroom, it would automatically finish the assignment for them without even having to do anything. That's kind of the scary part of all this, right? And so one of the big things we'll talk about, especially with our philosophy, is keeping the human in the loop. And you're going to hear us use that terminology with students and talk about it with our staff, because as soon as we pull that human out of the loop of this learning and using AI, then I feel like then we're not getting the proper learning and problem-solving pieces that I think we need as humans to be able to become problem solvers in the future. And so at the very bottom of this guideline tells you about no use of agentic bots. Now, we already had a student this year in our school create one for We People, and you heard about it. And so he created a bot that would learn the questions that they are going to be asked at We the People and would argue his responses back and forth, right? And so when he would respond, then the agent bot would then argue back against what they had, so we use it as a learning tool back and forth. So there are some pieces that I think with explicit permission from the instructor, like we have here, would be some pieces that I think that we need to keep open for teachers to be able to do. So as you can see, out of 5 being unbelievable understanding AI, I'm probably way down there like a 1.5 to 2, right? And so there is a ton of professional development when people are going to use this that needs to be done. And the reason why we created guidelines for the whole district and have this team do it is because it'd be nice to be able to walk into each classroom and be able to say, this assignment is a 0, this assignment is a 1, so everyone understands what that level is. And so even though they'll get a rubric like this, we want them to, if they want to, create their own system of how they can utilize this, maybe with using the stoplights. And so where red is 0 and 4 is green, and then anywhere in the middle is caution, where they have to be specific on, the teacher be specific on how the AI can be used for that type of assignment. And so again, what we can do, another option of all this, is do 0 on everything and not do any artificial intelligence at all. The problem is, 1, we aren't teaching the proper use of how to use it, and 2, AI is now being infused into everything that we do. And so even going to a simple Google search, you already have AI part of that Google search, and so you're using it when you type into a search engine. And so there's going to be more and more stuff like that. So we felt like getting some boundaries and guidelines, parameters for not only our students, but for our teachers as well. We're going to be able to much better have at least a foundational level of understanding AI and then build from that. We want to continue using Montana Digital Academy, their Frontier Lab, for working on upcoming products. One of the things that they have shown us is how to help support the writing curriculum for our curriculum maps that we've been working on. You can put in all of our essential standards that we've chosen as a district, and it will help you build a plan from week 1 to week 36 in the school year. So there are going to be some pieces that we can help us be more efficient as we do it, but also keep the human in the loop and being the problem solver. That does not do away with teachers not understanding the standards that they're teaching, but it does help organize them and even helps make it more effective and efficient timeline of when we put those standards together throughout the year. So with that, I'm sure there are lots of questions. What are some things that you guys have actually, Tony, can you give your perception? I'm putting you on the spot, Tony, because you were there. You had some great insight all throughout when you were coming into the beginning about AI. Some of the things that you actually use AI for also.
You are a brave man. So, I use AI a lot. I use it on several different platforms. It is an incredibly powerful, dangerous tool. If it can be implemented perfectly, I think it can do great things. I think it is very difficult to implement it in such a way that you're not having an overseer in the classroom every day, all day. The book can be used for the study guide. The next version of it will be out in about 3 weeks. It's not that it's not an amazing tool, but it will appreciate students' ability to read, writing stamina, memory formation. But at the same time, it's an amazing tool. So if it could be implemented perfectly, it could be a good thing. There's going to be temptations, I think, for teachers to write curriculum. You'll find places where, some parent uses AI to bomb you from the business because he doesn't like the grade that or student got for his child. And some teacher will use an AI to write back to that AI generated email. And so at some point, it's hard to know, and it's getting more powerful by the day. I mean, it gets better. It learns who you are. It learns how you think. Like incredibly so. It knows that I raise cows for most of my life for a living, and it's incredible. It's an incredible tool. I don't know how to say. I don't know how you implement it and enforce these things. Pretty soon, if we're going to expel kids who use AI inappropriately, the school's going to be empty. If you take a class in nursing, per se, we're getting ready to teach nursing to some degree in our charter school. So if you get caught using AI in nursing school, you take the entire year of college over. It's not you take a class over, you take a test over, you take the entire year of school over. And then when you think about that, who wants the doctor, operating on you who got through school with AI? And so I'm at war with myself over it because I use it a lot every day of my life. It's an amazing, it can compress time when used properly, but I think it requires wisdom up front. If you say, write me a letter to the governor about, school funding, they'll write you a letter and it'll be punctuated correctly, but it really will have no meaning to anyone unless you have the wisdom to put the things into AI to accomplish the task at hand. And so it's an incredibly powerful tool, and I'd like to see a very slow implementation of it. I don't know how, it's like getting a little bit wet in the lane, it's hard to do. I don't know how you implement it in such a manner that you can maintain control of it. And I feel like a hypocrite in some ways because I use it every day. And yet I don't know how to. Other question, did you submit your plan to the different AI platforms and ask what the good and what the bad was of your plan?
I personally didn't.
I thought about using it, AI to build. I didn't though. I might use AI to build this presentation.
Well, I can tell you what it says.
Well, you put it in for me, thank you.
Well, because it gives you a different perspective than the redneck I am, right? It broadens your horizons tremendously.
Right.
And the trouble with all digital learning is you have less cognitive ability, so to speak. You retain less of what you learn. Screens add anxiety to children. We have more SPED kids now on average than other schools. We're above average in SPED kids, right? Behavioral problems are a big thing. Screens cause anxiety. I can't get a math formula to tell me if that is a direct correlation of that. There's lots of other factors, so I can't get anything concrete, but it's definitely a factor. So all these things matter. And then when I look at, teachers, the frustration of being bombed by parents with emails instead of showing up, it's another form of non-verbal communication. Nobody has to come look at you and say, hey, what are you doing with my kid? And you say, well, your kid's shooting spitballs all day instead of studying. That's the problem. I don't know. This is a very hard thing to do. It is, and it's so brand new. And right now, there's infinite money to send us down the road of technology. Meta just put up, $15 million in the state of Montana for lobbyists and trying to get data centers built, right? Anything that they can do to reel us in the technology world where we can't get away from it, where it's consumed us, they're gonna continue to try to do that. Any amount of money, you know, it's a crazy deal. So I can't sit here and say what you're doing is wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's good to have the conversation no matter what. But I don't know how we're gonna control it. And I don't know what the punishment is when you take a really good student who's really good at using AI and overuses it a little bit, and the kid next to him is not a good student, and heavily more reliant. How do you throw your best kids out of school? I don't know.
Then you get a full ride to Boise State. So like, we have a kid that did that. He's going into AI and at Boise State. But I know I don't know if it was that on the out here in front of us to speak, but I know you are unbelievable at using some of the aspects of AI. Can you give us just a little brief, like some of the things you do as a teacher?
I do. Thanks. Yeah, really good. I actually do this for helping them to learn. One of the great ones is Notebook LM. And if I have a PDF for it, like actually one of the ways these kids learn some of the FBM that they won the state with was through that. We used it to downloaded the chapters out of their textbook. We created podcasts, videos, things that they can learn and watch, but I will show you, I'll give you the tests that they actually have to do. So we're combining what you're saying, Tony. These guys are going to have to use a calculator, pencil, and some high-level thinking on finances, but they got the concepts and the vocabulary, some of it from listening. So it has all aspects of how kids learn. There's quizzes in it, and so it's a learning tool, and it's not an ability for them to, I threaten them with their lives if they used it for essays in English, right? I spend a lot of time teaching them. They're ahead of the curve on a lot of, the ag kids are ahead of the curve. I said, go ahead, you got it for your history, and you want it, if you can go for a walk, I was so jealous. College would have been awesome with the advantage of being able to do something else and listen to my textbook at the same time in a podcast form. So it's not reading the textbook like the boring, but it's actually a podcast interaction of what's happening. We did that when we studied for national agronomy. We listened to podcasts about canola on the way to town and actually learned kind of some aspects of that. I think it's just going to take a lot of professional development. I'm just that person that has to know why and how things work. That's just how my brain works. I just gotta know. And helping kids use it for a tool and help them come to those things, but not use it to pretend that there's something that they're not actually doing. And again, when we get to us, I will share with you the test that they're gonna take at the national level, and it's a doozy. And it's gonna take us some time, but we're like you were saying, Tony, we're gonna compress some time. So if they're out, like Miss Adelaide changing pipe, maybe she can be listening to some definitions and types of things while she's doing that at the same time, rather than just sitting down at a desk with the textbook. All of my kids the other kids are busy. They're highly busy. Keely will be doing sheep and probably listening to stuff at the same time or whatever, all the things. These kids, they love it.
So thanks, Josette. I think the biggest thing out of all this is keeping the human in the loop. We're going to keep repeating that phrase because that judgment remains, the teacher remains the final authority over, how much AI to use. But we also need to be teaching that to our students too, because they're going to be inundated from now until the rest of their life of how much AI are they going to use in their own world, right? And so they got to have some type of a judgment on whether they know something. And so I think the old-fashioned discussion in a classroom where you might have used AI to learn about it, right? But then having that discussion back with having interaction within the class and using that information to be able to come to higher thinking as a group, I think is ultimately what I feel like where education is heading. And so I want to thank Brad and the whole team. Josette was on our team as well. She made it to several different meetings. Tony made it for several meetings too. And we had a group that came and met and talked about each chapter. Had Montana Digital Academy kind of taking it to a next level too, that sometimes they've been dealing with schools all across Montana that are doing the same. our model was pushed out of how we used a book study to drive discussion, which drove recommendations, which led to policy recommendations also. And so I really want to thank our team that has put so much time since basically January. I think we had almost 9 meetings over the last since January on this. So with that, thank you. I don't want to take any more of your time. Brad, I told you 7:30. Sorry.
Yeah, question
Couple of quickies. I don't want to take too much time. I have a million questions coming into this. You guys did such a great job. So it's down to really just two. Number one, what do you see the role of the committee being going forward? Like, can you continue the same amount of gusto, more or less? It's just such a ever-evolving thing, or do you feel like you've established some things and you can kind of ease off or move it into tech?
No, I feel like our next step is the rollout of how we're going to put these guidelines in place, as well as teaching our students that rubric, and then letting teachers kind of develop that rubric, like how they're going to show it. As long as we're using all basing from the same platform on what we know is a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we felt like teachers can then have the creativity to decide how they're going to do that. But it would be nice to be able to go from classroom to classroom. We've also talked about age limit. Like where should AI really start being a part where we get off of 0? Like, I mean, we have students now that are doing brainstorming for writing in the elementary grades, where they have to, for state testing, they got to get on and be able to respond to information that they read, right? And so knowing that, when they go to do any type of brainstorming on a Google search, they're using AI already with that. And so we need to be cautious. And I agree with Tony, like how young do we go with that? But again, I feel like it's one more thing that we put on schools to be able to help support families in the community on how we're going to deal with AI moving forward. There are so many schools that have totally just cut everything off with AI and won't let them do anything. And I fear that's a piece that they deal with AI already. So I feel like we need to keep that human in the loop.
Yeah, no, I think the rubric, I think the framework is beautiful, giving the students and the staff some consistency of how to move forward with this. I think it's going to be really helpful. I have 2 going on 3 high school students, and they are constantly looking at, so what am I going to do in college? I'm looking at college, and what's that going to turn into as far as a career? So like, what role is AI going to have? So I like how you phrase it, keeping the human in the loop. Having this technology available to our students and bringing it in a mindful way and teaching them what's important about being human in this equation, what's important about you, what can you do that the tech is not going to do, I think is such a huge part. So I'm glad we're being proactive. Thank you guys for your time in putting this together. And I think teaching our kids how to navigate this and not letting them pick up all of it on the streets is a big part of, is going to be really helpful and supportive to our kids.
Do schools, do schools have the access to have like their own AI platform?
Well, yeah, that's
versus just having it open, trying to build parameters around everything versus having like your own platform. I'm just thinking this,
right.
We use it at work, but it's that way.
Right.
It's, we build the parameters around it and the fences around it, but we also fill it with the information that we want.
Great question. And that is the whole piece of School AI. So School AI, and that'd be maybe a great presentation to have them. We're using the free level of School AI right now. We definitely can set parameters in there. Each teacher can set their own environment up where they use it, and students get into that environment. I like the fact that it's all tracked, so you can see everything that they have used in there. in our system, we can also, for teachers, they can choose which ones to allow them to use. But for going forward here real soon, the only AI that students can use was going to be school AI because we have those parameters set. And so all the rest of the AI pieces like ChatGPT and Claude and all the rest of those will be, you won't be able to access through our devices without teacher permission. So there might be some pieces that a teacher might use a different AI platform for, but for the most part, school AI right now is the one that is endorsed by the state of the school administrators of Montana and Montana Digital Academy, and so they are a partner in it. We obviously it's the free level now. Guess what might happen down the road, right? Because that's what happens when people get you into that and liking their platform. You might have less and less ability as we go. There's several different levels of school AI that are paid versions of it.
I think that as I'm listening to you, John, that I think one of the challenges is we can control what goes on in the school, right, and in this building. But when they leave this building, we lose control of what they're accessing, what people access with AI, what our students are accessing. And so that human contact is going to be so important, and that teacher contact is going to be so important because we would be fooling ourselves to think that they're not going to leave the classroom and attempt something else, right? So we have to have our eyes open to that. And I know that when we talked about it in policy committee and looked at those policies that have been brought to us, that was one of the concerns. We need to make sure that we're doing that professional development to empower the teachers, whether it be through time or technology, whatever it may be, to be able to review those steps as a student is working on a project so that they can combat those things that are happening off campus. Because I think those are the things, for me, that's the stuff that concerns me more. Not so much that's happening on campus, but what's happening off campus when they don't have those controls.
You're right. I think the process piece is so much more important in instruction now of how a teacher checks in, for example, on writing an essay, right? How can a student go straight from having a prompt to having an essay completely done? What's happened in the middle, right? And so that's where the teacher has to be part of that and checking the rough draft, or even what happened to writing it out by hand with your, on paper first before you ever get to that piece of using it. So those are the things we need to continue to keep talking about. Good point, Brian.
We apply to fiscal, to this, like, can we, at some point, do a projection of where it takes us financially, so we don't go down the road that we can't get away from?
School AI is $0 right now, so.
Do you expect $0 to continue?
Anything electronic, I don't expect to be zero. The more access we get to any of this stuff, people are trying to find a way to Netflix it, right? To make it the subscription-based piece. And so we got to be cognizant on what we spend our money on. And I think since this kind of goes right into my next report for the superintendent report, as I'm talking about the tech levy not passing, is really diving deep into all of our subscription-based platforms that we use currently. We have a list of all of them that we used, and we've actually gotten rid of a couple, some before the tech levy and some as we're talking about the tech levy, that we feel like there isn't enough people using that platform, and we're paying a subscription on it, and it hasn't been looked at in a while, that we felt like we need to get rid of some of this stuff that we have. So we've started that, and we'll do that in the resource committee also. We'll come to resource committee with our next resource committee with our recommendations on some of the pieces to get ready for not passing the tech levy, and talking about what that might look like for the future.
Other questions? Questions from the public? Thank you, Mr. Coleman and team for serving on that. Mr. Coleman, superintendent report and the charter school report, maybe those flow together pretty well.
Okay, I will quickly go through them. I did some work with, well, it's nice having someone to help be dedicated to human resources. So Nicole has been fantastic, kind of putting all these things in place that we've been asking for. And so she helps out with my board report by listing positions, number of applicants, number of people that are interviewed. We still seem to have a pretty large, when we put out ads for principal, we had 15 applicants. For assistant principal, we had 15 applicants. And so we've been getting quite a few. Part of it's hitting the sweet spot of where hiring is going on. Right now we're getting later in the year. A lot of people have been hired, so there's going to be less candidates out there for all positions, right, when we get into May here. And so we'll keep that human resource update on that board report so you can see how many applicants there were and how many were interviewed. Then the new section we added last month is giving a little introduction on each of the board members, each of the new hires that are new to the district, specifically for certified staff. And so we have Hannah Williams, Michelle Meyer, Michaela Squire, Zeph Larson, Jess Jepai, and we list such things as years of experience, number of applicants for that position. So that gives you some background, hopefully, for you to help make a decision, because that's part of the job as a trustee, is to be able to accept the employee recommendations that we look at or deny. And so hopefully that information gives you a little bit of information about them. I'm going to continue adding the enrollment piece on here. That's, to me, the enrollment piece. Right now, with the way our funding structure is, that we rely heavily on A and B. And so we are down, if you take a look at the end of last year until right now, we are down 52 students from where we were. And so obviously that affects our bottom line for our budget. When we look at where a lot of those students are at, where they're not at, where they should be at, is in the ELP and kindergarten classrooms. We have quite a few. The enrollment and birth rate has really been affected. You've probably seen that nationwide. It's not just a Stevensville problem, it's a nationwide problem. Actually, it's a worldwide problem, and it can all be connected, they tell me, from the news back to technology, right? And so, interesting enough, we're affected by that piece of it here in the Valley. There isn't one school in the Valley that hasn't seen a drop in enrollment besides Corvallis, who picked up Pinesdale to be part of their school district. So I'll keep that in there with our enrollment summary. Then the next sections I'll deal with our committee work, right? So policy committee, we worked on 4 policies, 3 dealing with AI, 1 dealing with public participation. And next we have our resource committee dealing with the budget and looking at recommendations for how to allocate resources. We've talked a lot about the tech levy the last couple of meetings. We will continue to talk about the effects of not passing the tech levy going forward. We also talked a little bit about the charter school and that budget. Next is facilities. We are hopefully still on target to hit that May 29th date where they will be resurfacing the tennis courts and redoing them. And we have a high school roof project that starts right after school's out. We have entryway to another portion of the middle school that'll get a new ADA compliant entryway. We're going to redo a portion of right in front of the NPR right out here. If you notice where all the big trucks kind of back up to drop off the commodities for the food service, we're going to redo that and put that into concrete. Really want to thank Dave Hackey and his crew for all of these, helping support all of these projects and keeping everything running and going. We have met 7 times, I think, with the Athletics Activities and Organization Committee. I think we're going to plan one more meeting for this year, and we'll continue that committee going forward. Have not set that date yet for when that next committee is going to be, but we want to work on parents and booster club aspects of that. And then the very last one is just the budget financial. This is the one that I continually watch as kind of the bottom line as compared to the previous 4 years, where we're at in our budget, and we're comparing it percentage wise. And so I have 2 of the funds that we watch continually closely with the, as well as other funds, but these 2 are the big ones, with the general fund and the transportation fund for both the elementary and high school district. Last but not least is the charter school updates. Mr. Keeney talked a little bit about having a meeting April 23rd on having interested students come. We have well over 40 students that are interested, signed up for the charter school, which is fantastic. Hannah is excited to continue working and meeting and marketing the program, and we're now looking at what we can do with the location of where her office, as well as updating the classroom. We are focusing this year a lot on setting stuff up for the following year. We're spending obviously more money next year on when we get the A and B that follows that, those students that are coming with that. This year, as you know, we only get the basic entitlement, which is roughly about $311,000. That a lot of that, over 200,000 of that, staffing for the charter school. With that, we are working currently on curriculum. We have curriculum on its way for AP classes. With AP classes, obviously there isn't a lot of curriculum to choose from. They have specific curriculum that goes with the AP courses, and so we've narrowed it down to a couple for each of the courses that we're going to be teaching. We'll have those available hopefully within the next week for people to look at. Again, it's kind of an expedited, sped up process for the curriculum adoption piece because of wanting to start with curriculum in our hands in August. And we are building our community advisory board, and what that's going to look like. We will ask for, when we reorganize, to have a board member that participates on that advisory committee as we move forward here. So with that, questions?
Of our students that are interested, do we get some from out of district, or are they all students that are already, or what's the proportion of students that we're already serving?
I think, I can't speak to that. It isn't very high out of district. We need to continue to keep promoting that and talking about it with other communities. I know our neighbors south do a lot of advertising within our district, so I feel like that's fair game to advertise outside of our district a little bit more than we're doing. Also, we do have students that were interested from Lone Rock that are coming, that'll be a part of it, and so that was exciting because they went out, counselors and Hannah went out to Lone Rock and did a presentation there, and we have interested 8th graders coming in. So we have numbers, I think it's 13 and 14 for 2 different classes that were coming in. So 27 students that were interested coming in that freshman class. So obviously creating the pipeline, like all the rest of our unbelievable CTE programs that we have, creating the pipeline is important to do, and getting kids interested at a younger age for that. So good question.
With this May 29th target date to review the tennis courts, have we seen the contractors and everything had a chance to vet?
Have not, no.
So there's no contract, or we haven't seen?
I have not seen it, so I can ask for that. Obviously, that'll be between Stars Foundation and him, but obviously we play a big role in it since it's our land, yes, in our tennis courts.
Further questions? Questions from the public?
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. All right, we will move on to our business section of the agenda tonight. We'll start first with out-of-district enrollment. Every trustee, a large packet in front of them, dual time for out-of-district requests.
The very first small packet that you have is actually for a couple of students that are out of district that have recently moved into our district from out of state, and they are looking to start next week. So that is your very first. And then the remainder 3 sections are for next year's students that have already been here that are renewing theirs.
I do have a question. In the high school packet, there is one student, ID number that ends in 94905 that is listed as 8th grade.
Oh,
Is
that's,
that someone coming into ninth grade?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep, it just probably got wrote wrong, but yes, coming into 9th grade, yes. And is currently an 8th grader, so, yeah. And we oftentimes have parents put that in the wrong, yes, so I go through and fix them all before they go to the next school, yes.
Fran?
Are all of these students that we're presenting with tonight already in our district? And
No, these two are-
Those 2 are not, and then there are a couple mixed in that are going to be new students next year that are currently not attending.
Okay, and are they identified anyway on here?
No, they are not.
I have a question on the high school. And the there's a note on there that they had an out of school suspension. I just wanted to make sure that we know what that was about and
I'm sorry, in high school, what was the number on it?
the last 4 or the last 46 was the last 30. It's like the second to last
Oh.
in the packet.
1. Oh, I see.
I'm just wondering if we know specifically about that in our comp.
Give me a second, let me look this kid up. I know their names, but I don't know their numbers, Fran. Give me a second.
Well, you should memorize all of these.
So the elementary, there's one with no student ID number on it.
It's probably a new student coming in, so we don't have an ID number for them yet.
So in the comments, what does that mean? Plan in place, no suspension.
That is an identified student.
Oh, Brent, that one, that's a 8th grader who's coming up, he'll be a 9th grader next year. I did confirm that with Miss Armour, that they did in fact was in good standing, but had a minor event. So yes, we're comfortable with that one.
Okay, and they, obviously, they've been in school. already.
Yes.
Thank you.
I too have some more questions about the one Tony's asking about, I guess. Right?
Yes.
A student that's not with us, out of district,
Mhm.
noted behaviors with physical, verbal, or unsafe and
Yes.
recommended. I can't tell the decline or acceptance.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was accepted. And they are an identified student.
But not ours to take, they were their home district.
Unfortunately, because they're identified, no.
So legal guidance says
Yes.
we have to give opportunity for students that are identified to be a part of the free choice of going to schools.
Mhm.
And so with that, that's about the only area that we can't deny. So I can get guidance from Gia
Yes.
for you too, but that
Yes.
is
We're not comfortable here, so this student has a documented
Yes.
IEP and it's not starting school.
They're have been identified through BVAC.
Okay.
Okay, and so they are coming into school now. And the only way that we legally could deny them is if the kindergarten classes were at max capacity. And or if we were running a program such as like an ARC program or something, and we had a cap on that program, but we do not have one of those programs here. And so legal counsel has advised us that we are unable to deny them.
So this is a possibly rhetorical, simply for the sake of argument, not trying to question either you, John, or Linda. But if that's where legal counsel is at, because we've seen this change a lot over the past few years, this process, why would we spend time improving our district in the Middle East? As a board. And I'm not trying to ask either of you.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I'm just saying,
Yes.
in the hypothetical,
Mhm.
should we be asking, her, why are we doing it? If every school district in the state is now compelled to accept, why take more time doing it?
It's only if they're an identified student that we run into that situation. If this was not an identified student, then the student could be denied.
Okay, so, and I definitely don't know a lot, I definitely don't know much at all about that role there, but so, because they've gone through BVAC, and haven't started school at all, these are all the notes on this student, and they don't reside in our district.
had same conversation with
Mhm.
Bia on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
We contacted her this week on it.
There's all kinds of special ed laws, requirements that have been imposed on school districts. State, mostly federal level, that don't necessarily make much sense. Where they take away from schools, local control, or from the state, local control.
and the piece of that obviously the whole tuition fund is for and how we track that is right, and how we build the district that they're coming from, right? And that was the whole point of that bill, is because so many districts that are getting a high number of kids coming from neighboring districts that are special ed, there was no way to charge them, right? They could deny them out. And
Yes.
so now we can charge that district the amount of money it costs to be able to provide FAPE for them, which could mean having another employee or paraprofessional that helps support that student. So.
And I would then run the calculations and bill that with the tuition fund. I would bill the school with their FP14.
Sure, which we have no idea what their cost will be.
We do not at this point.
You are correct.
You are correct. We do not.
And we've got to front that for the first year.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. Correct.
So who would write the student's IEP? Would we then, as incoming?
So
and write that
they-
student's IEP?
They have a current IEP currently that is effective because BVAC has already wrote it. And so until that due date comes due, we would follow the BVAC one, or we would amend it if we needed to meet the students' needs here at our district.
No, we can't.
We can amend what is, yes, yes, yes. But it is a current and active IEP.
And it says plan written, so cannot suspend, so if this speed problem.
Yeah, there are certain guidelines with identified students on what we can and cannot do. So doesn't mean we can't, but we just have to really follow the guidelines within.
And if
There's
they're,
actually 2 of those students,
Correct.
correct?
Basically, being required to take kids in this school that we know are unsafe. By law, somebody's telling us we have to do this.
That is correct.
House Bill 203, right?
That is correct.
There's no fight to be had.
tried that.
We try. That we can't. Yeah.
Been working on it for a while.
Yeah. And we did seek legal counsel on it this week, and their advisement was that we needed to accept them.
Thank you for bringing that foresight and that clarity. Appreciate that.
I have another question on the same packet of elementary for Deb. Ending in, it's a second grader, ending in 290, and it has a transportation request.
Yes, so the family is asking for transportation for drop off and pickup in a location that is in our district.
On that one also, there is no indication of acceptance or.
Oh, shoot. That's an acceptance, yes, sorry. Yes, yes. But the family is asking for pickup and or drop off in district, not out of district. So maybe going to a family member or a daycare. They didn't specify, but that would be my guess.
And so back on these 2 unenrolled students who have no ID that we're talking about, the photocopy's a little blurry, but my reading of the photocopy in front of me appears that the administrator has circled decline on both.
Originally, that was the case until we contacted legal counsel.
Which I follow.
Yes.
I'm fairly in the mood to support the administrator because I trust the administrator. I also trust that you contact legal counsel. I get it. I just trust.
Yeah.
Like that. Not with you, that you contact.
No, I understand and hear your frustration and
And so how young should somebody just go get an IEP?
right?
Mhm.
You
You're-
ask great
I'm
questions.
coming at
I
you
know.
Like
I
you
know.
created these work rules.
No, no.
You both are just, and all of you at the table are just very knowledgeable about this.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and you're seeing a lot of schools create structured learning environments within their school district that have programs and staffed like that, right?
Mhm.
So, I think the closest one is, Missoula has a structured learning
Mhm.
environment. So does Hamilton
Hamilton.
has a structured
Mhm.
learning environment called the ARC. And so those are structured environments where student is located, is in there. And so that's a piece that when you have an environment like that, you get to set how many students can come into that program. And if that student requires or is, we declare that the least restrictive environment is inside of that structured learning environment and we're full, then we can deny it.
Okay.
So do you foresee, I foresee a lot of districts that are our size, because we're getting a lot of getting a lot of students from smaller districts that don't have these resources, right? Having to create a structured learning environment within our school district. Would be something I would like to work towards too.
I just worry about our staff. Noted here, physical, verbal, unsafe. And the other students. So, student that's not in school, and I am gonna lean on those of you at the table that know a lot about this, and I appreciate, I truly appreciate you answering the question. Just a wealth of knowledge you have. How does an IEP get written that specifies you cannot suspend a student when a student has not been in a school environment to expose themselves to be suspended?
Go ahead.
were at BBEC at the preschool and currently are at Head Start. So there was some classroom data
Okay.
that was taken to write that plan.
And so in the sped world that we live in, even though that environment is markedly different than this environment, I'm just, as a lack of knowledge person, I just don't feel that's appropriate to write into a plan. I feel that's jumping the shark.
And that's why the plan would be to hold an amendment
Yes.
meeting prior to school to ensure that reports are put in place and plans are made to serve the students' needs.
Mhm.
Also,
And the school's needs.
as the year progresses or as time progresses, there can also be an amendment to that IEP.
Correct.
Simply because it's written at one time or upon entry doesn't mean that is the IEP that you have to.
Exactly.
Correct.
And that's why we
Correct.
would,
At any time.
Correct.
and that's why we would amend prior to getting into school.
Mhm.
Because there are multiple pieces that don't align with, our programs
Yes.
currently, and we would need to change those
The
anyways.
point is that once here, and inside the environment,
Mhm.
then it again could be amended. to
Correct.
reflect what's appropriate.
Yes, correct.
It may need to be done because the environment is different.
Right, and
Yes.
you want to connect it to data.
Yes.
And
Yes.
You have to be able to justify. it.
Yes.
Yes.
Basically do it.
I guess in light of that and that thinking, is BBEC our partner in this, or are they the student in the family? I mean, getting language like this written at such an early age feels like it's one-sided. I'm just being bluntly honest, and I know everything's being recorded.
And not because of verbiage, but we oftentimes, getting a student in from any preschool program, we often have to amend them to meet our needs here at the district and to meet the students' needs. Verbiage wise though, we really don't see this type of verbiage very often.
And I guess what I'm saying is I am keenly aware that there are advocates that are out there selling their service,
Mhm.
that are helping families write aggressive language
Right.
that are hard for schools to deal with.
Right.
And here we are being accepted to kids that are not even in school with this kind of stuff written.
And some of that, I don't know what specifically you're talking about that was, but some of it is conversation and not written in the plan, so depending on what you're referring to.
Well, all we have, as you know, we have almost nothing here.
Yeah.
By design. And all it says is plans in place, cannot sustain.
Yes, that
So that's
is-
verbal
that
or
is-
that's written?
That one is written.
Verbal's not a part of an IEP, you can't.
No.
You can't enforce anything.
Which is also,
That's why
yeah.
the answer.
Yeah.
I
Which is-
will say this, in my opinion, in my years up, I believe that schools have become, and I think we're one of them, I think we over-identify state students. I think it's become a matter of convenience rather than following what the law actually says, because it's pretty clear what has to be and what must be met in order to qualify for SPED. And I think sometimes they pass it on whatever we don't do. And so we end up with
So continuing on these, one student has no pending threat assessments. It's clear we're talking about kids capable of threatening, and another has no answer for that. Do we not know if they're threatening the adults in their lives or other students?
Let's see.
Very frustrating. Also on grades, if they're in a school environment, both will have unknown grades, but they're in a school environment. Preschools give sort of grades, right?
The, home, Head Start does not.
They don't really give a
And that's.
a grade.
verbal notes.
And nothing comparable that we could use per se. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I, in a previous life, worked in Head Start,
Mhm.
and you have a conference and you talk about things, but
Yeah, there's no-
Are they bringing letters?
Yep.
Are they, you
Yep.
know,
are they behaving? Are they socially, you know?
Yeah.
it's
Well, I-
Formal. And I think, I mean, honestly, I think we're kind of beating it at first. I don't think we have a choice here. I think talking about it more and more isn't gonna change what we have to do.
To answer your question, Ben, it is supposed to say no for that question of the threat assessment.
And same thing, pending issues that could cause the student to be expelled or suspended or have criminal charges, there's no answer as well.
Yeah, I find it astounding that we have to put some kids at risk for this. We talk about why this, people don't bring their kids to the school. If we put this, if we let people, the public, really know that we have kids here like, and we have no control over it, and but bring us more of your kids, it's astounding to me. And I realize we're, you know, I'm just vetting here probably, and somehow this is gonna get crammed down our throat. But it is wrong to do this. It is absolutely wrong to be forced.
It is and it isn't, but we also have an educational partner that's written an IEP plan for a kid that is not in any educational settings, we just said they don't have grades, they're in preschool, that says no suspension. That's not an educational partner. That's frustrating. That's not an IEP that's helpful.
There, it is out of context too, so there's more complex than just a couple of notes on
I
these.
think we need to remember that we need to remember a couple of things. Like Jen said, we don't, whether we like it or not, we have been advised by legal counsel that this is what we have to do. And so we don't really have a choice in what we're doing here. And I understand it's frustrating, but I will tell you, as a parent who had a graduated from Stevensville IEP student who had an IEP at the Head Start level, that probably the school didn't like some of the things that were on that IEP, who is now a paraprofessional at our school, that we need to be very careful. It is scary, but we're talking about a kindergarten here, and we need to give the school an opportunity to do what the state is demanding that we do. Whether we like it or not, that's what we're being mandated to do. And sitting arguing about it is not going to change. And we are talking about a very young child that does have an opportunity to be better if they're put in a situation where they have good educational opportunities, and we have good educational opportunities in Stevensville. And I feel very confident in our staff to deal with things or to bring it back to someone to readdress it if the time comes.
What drives a lot of this is faith, and then a major push here.
Yes.
A couple of centuries, a few years ago, to drive towards this inclusion model. And so I think that's what creates a lot of frustration. I think that's what Tony's referring to. And when you don't have something like an art program that have the Hampton and elsewhere, the free and appropriate public education inclusion part becomes more obvious.
Yes.
People become more reactive to it.
I have a question. So if this child is accepted, comes to school, and becomes a problem, do we have staffing to deal with it, or do we have to hire someone new?
We don't know at this time. We wouldn't be able to answer that at this time until we were able to spend some time with them.
Otherwise, it would be predetermined.
Yeah.
So if you had to hire somebody new, how long is that process?
Month and a half.
It just depends, yeah.
And that's why I would recommend that we had a meeting prior to school begin.
Yep.
So if you could educate me, you can tell me tomorrow or the next day. Legislation that was passed provided 3 opportunities to decline out-of-state students coming in. One of which was behavior problems. Obviously, this doesn't apply here because they're identified. What does identified mean?
It means that they have a disability and they have an IEP, which is an individualized education plan.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, AP does.
Yeah, I know. You guys wanna there? We can give you 2 seconds to say something. You wanna speak your piece and we'll act on it later. I think we can make that something.
I'll handle it.
I know, I think I appreciate
Well, I
it.
just want to tell you how awesome they are, and I will when you get done with this. It'll be recorded and I'll tell you tomorrow, but they.
Yeah, you wanna say
several-
2 seconds that you're requesting for and then packet will go through all the big details.
We're requesting out-of-district permission so that we can go to nationals to go compete in the national FBM contest for FFA. And agronomy. And agronomy?
Around the trip.
Oh, and the agronomy trip as well. I was like, we're not running nationals. And to go out of state as well for the agronomy trip as well for FFA.
Thank you. And I very much agree for numerous reasons, that, yes, they need to go and study. Yeah, get some sleep, been long days, been long weeks here. And I'm leaving the board here, but I want to, very, very much appreciate students come to request their out-of-state travel. And it's a formality, the board's always gonna approve it, but as a board member, there's nothing I appreciate more than students owning their responsibilities, so I appreciate that. And it should not be the work of the teacher, adult, sponsor, advisor to carry the water for that. So students show up, that you're doing the right thing, and sorry about that. And I agree with Ms.
You can't go, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm driving, but you're gonna stop. Okay, you can go, you got it. Sorry, forgot that detail.
Well, thank you guys, good
Thank
work.
you. Yeah. Oh, we are so close to it too. Just this item really from work. Okay.
Well, so looking at the issue at hand, I've got a couple of questions about how we want to do motions, but if there's further discussion, then carry on. But we've got the what are we doing right now question, and we've got how do we want to talk about how we support our staff, support our students, keep everybody safe. It is an ongoing conversation. What do we want to do with our relationships with our other school districts or neighbors? And we have our conversation about what we are doing on the larger system. Is there ways we can advocate for, first identify and then advocate for what we want to do as far as what our recommendation would be as far as how to handle student safety in classes and what we as a school would like to see our ideal model being and how we would like our state to support it. I think some of those are doable tonight, like maybe having more conversation, looking for forums, and I think some of them are, worthwhile future discussion.
I think it would be appropriate, maybe just because of the nature of the request, to consider in 2 separate motions, because I think they're both elementary, sorry.
Yes.
The ones that I have requested to start next week. So that could be a first thing that we take care
Yes.
of here.
Thank you.
And these students want to teach in grade 5 and grade 7?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you, Stephanie. I think it's good input and some direction here, but if everybody's okay with that and follows the agenda close enough, the floor would be open for a motion to accept out of district enrollment from 2 students in the smallest packet that wish to start with us this school year.
That we accept them.
Okay, if you want to just say the IDs ending in.
Sure.
833.
I make a motion that we approve the out of district enrollments that are going to start immediately at 0833, ending in 0833 and 0592.
Thank you, Billy. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the out-of-district enrollment request for the students mentioned in the budget motion. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony? Aye. Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. And Skip?
Aye.
Motion carries. Students are admitted. That would take us then to, there are 2 elementary packets, right?
Yes.
The middle school is its own packet.
Yes.
And then the largest packet is the elementary school.
Yes, and they could go together. I just separated them for
Sure,
ease of.
Sure, for the purpose of.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, and I support everything Stephanie said, so certainly further dialogue is welcome. Yeah, there are probably bigger picture advocacy things that need to be talked about here as well. Whether right now is the right time to do that or not is.
To follow our form, I'll make a motion and then if there's discussion, I move to accept the administrative recommendations for enrollment of the non-resident elementary students as presented, inclusive of the elementary and middle school packets. Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Stephanie and Fran. So I only have the information that's in front of me. And I guess if anybody requested these packets and the way the motion is worded, I'm structuring my vote, I guess. The 2 students that we have spent a lot of time talking about, the only mark on these circles is decline. And so I would vote to support the district.
It
But
is.
I want to be clear because that's all that's circled here is decline.
And I apologize, it should have been marked as accept.
And I heard you say that,
Mhm.
so I guess I wanted to circle back on that because I'm being declined and that's all.
I don't think we can.
We
It's
cannot.
well articulated here. This is
I know.
a voice of few unmovable on this issue. There is no choice. Boards can't sit here and arbitrarily overrule an IEP.
No.
That's law. And that's why I call a vote.
Yes.
Said what you said.
Well, they're our districts. I know we can't do that.
I would like to amend my motion that require requesting.
Nope, that would be to just take it off the table.
Okay. I move to accept the administrative recommendations for enrollment of the non-district elementary students as presented with the verbal amendment from administration on how do we want to identify the students that do not have numbers on the 2 students discussed.
On the ones that are not clearly marked, accepted, or declined.
On the 2 students that are not clearly marked, accepted, or declined.
Okay, is there a second?
Can we restate the motion? I'm not sure that I understand. Nope, I'm happy to. I move to accept the administrative recommendations for the enrollment of the non-resident elementary students as presented with the amendment of I've lost my words.
Accepting.
With the amendment of accepting the 2 non-identified students that are not clearly marked accept or declined. Second.
Right. Comments on the amendment?
Glenda, is that okay with the non
Comments or questions from the public on the amendment?
I just have a question, Jared. I know with the IEP, we have there's all protective needs. Like, how are these incoming partner parents? Like, I mean, they have access. But, like, that would really scare me and I'd probably withdraw. If I was aware of this information, I would be like, he's out, I'm going to school. And I know there's nothing you can do, like, and I understand, like, you know, we don't know the situation until the child is here. And so it's a really hard situation. Like, it's really unfortunate because it paints Demonsville when these things happen and then parents start talking, especially kindergarten parents, they will, you know, that's their little network and stuff. And so I just worry about how this is gonna look, but I understand.
And, I don't disagree with you. I think that it has the potential. But listening to what our administration's plan is, which is to meet with those parents, meet with that student, restructure the IEP if needed before the student comes in, I would hope would give some solace to a parent that says, we're doing what the state tells us we have to do, but we're gonna be proactive as a school district to do what we can do to mitigate anything that might happen.
Is that something that should be done before we accept this? Is that, we're gonna talk to them and tell them?
It wouldn't make a difference.
Doesn't matter. I know they're gonna get that anyway, but if they're going to change, somebody has to make reasons. In the public forum somewhere, instead of quietly.
But I think also these children deserve the opportunity to an education, and that's why we have these laws in place. And we need to support not only this child and family and our staff, and make sure that we give this child every opportunity to see what they can do. They're 5 years old. You know, don't let an IEP, you know, give them the opportunity. And I think the ongoing discussion is not helpful for anyone. And I know our admin and our teachers are going to give this child every opportunity to thrive. And I think we just need to move on.
I think it is important that these discussions get held in public so that people are aware of this, what the constraints, if you want to call them that, seem to be on school districts. And I think most people, some sitting in this room, have little to no understanding of what special ed, state inclusion, IEPs, or any of those types of issues are that schools, as I said, are forced to follow as a result of laws written thousands of miles from here by well-meaning individuals who have no idea or understanding what it is they are doing.
And I think you're spot on, and I do think these are conversations that should happen in public, and should happen with this group. I do get uncomfortable when we're having it around specific children, even if they are unidentified and anonymous. I start getting a little uneasy about having this conversation around that specifically, but I would be far more comfortable and even eager to have the conversation, I think, separate from these moments where we can have a framework in place. And questions will come up and we do need to discuss them. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying at some point, capping it and then moving it to a place where it's not about specific students and specific children would make me more comfortable in having a more in-depth conversation.
I agree, Stephanie, and I think with the approach, kind of like what I'm saying, we know that this is what the state requires, we don't like it. And there are things that we can potentially do to help change that. In the meantime, we don't have a choice, and I agree, I mean, we have two students that somebody may know who we're talking about. We need to be talking in general about what we do when we're forced into a situation like this. What do we as Stevensville when we know that when an IEP student comes up to us with this situation, how are we gonna effectively handle it for the students that are here, for the student that is coming in, and for our staff, right? And so when we talk more general, I think is a great idea that we need to do. We don't have a choice in accepting or not accepting them. We have to accept the student, these two students. The only thing we can do is to have a deeper conversation at another time on how we will handle it as it comes to us. We legally have no other choice.
One of the things that needs to be a part of the discussion is the understanding that both the state and federal government have completely abandoned their responsibilities to fund SPED 504 or any of those. The amount of money, percentage-wise, that the state provides to our district to fund is a drop in the proverbial bucket. And the feds are just as bad, yet they're the ones along with OPI and so forth, writing these laws that have literally become unfunded mandates. So for districts to provide meaningful, they include whatever it is that the student needs, becomes, in a sense, a financial burden for school districts, which sometimes impedes their ability to actually provide what the student needs effectively, because they can't afford it, they don't have the resources. Legally, that's not an argument, but it happens anyway.
I'm gonna bring us back to the amendment, the discussion at this point. There are questions that are only on the amendment. That's the motion on the table. Are there further questions, comments from the board or the public on the amendment? Yes.
I have a problem with the whole, trying to boil this down to its most simple concept here. This one child is listed as unsafe. It's unsafe. Regardless of what it is, I trust you guys to have a program that can handle something like that. But to be forced into an approval for this thing based on what I call a questionable IEP, whether or not it's appropriate or not, because the kid's so young, whether it even should have been issued at all. It gets up here with 4 or 5 lines of information on here to the board who's now expected to approve this thing. I think a whole lot more information, I'm sure there's a lot more information than what this is, or this and that. But it'd be nice to be part of that information before we approve something. If we have questions, now all of a sudden, well, you can't know that, or that's not appropriate.
You're right. There is a piece of it that is FERPA to it. We can only provide a certain amount of information before we get so specific with that. So that's the kicker of all this is we have limited information to be able to make a decision, and hopefully trust the administration to make a recommendation to follow forward, that we've already talked with a lawyer about this and we need to get this done, and we'll figure out, give these kids an opportunity to hopefully be successful.
How many other kindergarten classes?
We don't know the full numbers at this point. Kindergartners are still registering.
Correct.
Yeah,
So-
it's not final, but I believe we're at 31.
How many teachers?
3.
We're looking at possibly one child impacting the education process for at least 30 other kids.
Well, we won't put 30 in one room this year.
Whatever
No,
class.
I'm just joking. It'll be 3 teachers for 31.
But
So it'd be 10, right? So 10 to 11. And we'll get more students from now until the school starts as well. So it'll be, I'm sure, we always have a late push for enrollment right before school starts to get that done. So.
All right, further questions or comment on the amendment from the board or the public? All right, on the amendment, which reads that the two accept or decline marks that are unclear on the papers in front of us are noted as verbal accept by the administration. That's the amendment. So that's what would be amended with the motion to make sure that those are noted as a verbal accept and not written. The way you'll vote on the amendment. So Dan, how do you vote on the amendment?
Aye.
And Willie?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. And Skip? Motion carries. The main motion is now amended to read that we accept the out-of-district elementary enrollments as presented, and has been amended to note that the two with that were initially marked as decline and circled as such on the papers by the administration are verbally noted as accept for the purposes of our meetings. Further question, comment on the main motion? Question or comment from the public? Right, and Dan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony?
I vote no.
Fran?
Aye.
I vote no. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. And Skip?
No.
Motion passes 4-3. I got that number here. Motion passes 4-3. All right, move on to the high school. In the high school, we have several out-of-district requests for next year as well. Are there questions, or the floor would now be open for a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept out-of-district enrollments for the high school.
Fran, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comments from the board?
Just FYI on some of these, there's the truant or truancy part is missing on several.
Oh, okay. I'll have her check her form that she's using.
Some of them have it, some of them don't.
Oh, well, the form's not consistent.
Yeah, I'll have her check the form. Okay,
Not that it's not
thank
in-
you.
Correct, yeah, just.
Oh, I see it. All right, other questions or comment from the board or from the public? Right, all those in favor of accepting the high school out-of-district enrollments for the 26-27 school year, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will move on now to a request for out-of-state travel for the SFA chapter, item B on our action items tonight. Mr. Cronin or Ms. Hackett or anyone who would like to have.
Sure, I'm gonna release the admin to go to, so to be ready for tomorrow. Thanks, guys, for being here. Go for it, Ms. Hackett, thanks so much.
On a whole entire different note. So, I'm gonna brag on them a little bit and take a little bit of your time. The kids who are going or requesting to travel for out of state are the farm and agribusiness management team. They have to qualify districts and they compete against 46 total teams. And just to remind you, in FFA, we compete against AA all the way down. And we handily beat Kalispell, who has a tendency to win those types of things. Beat them by over 127 points. And I'm pretty proud of them. They were third and eighth for the top three on the team. They're working very, very hard. I wanted to share with you guys, I didn't bring you all the data that goes along with it, but this is what they're facing. It's a 3-hour test. That they'll be taking in October, and I didn't give you all the financials for it, but this is what it will look like, a 3-hour test. Like I said, they grabbed a couple of resources here. You guys could look that through. That's the resources I'll show you guys It's the financial resources for an entire operation, a larger operation, including taxes and things like that. So when folks say that students don't learn about these things in school anymore, they certainly do. They have to understand income taxes, partial budgets, all these types of things on an operation and be able to answer this test in 3 hours. They are working every Thursday throughout the entire summer to get prepared for this. We are using AI for some of, I have the textbook and the PDF, and we are using AI to summarize that for them to learn, but we are also pencil and paper, and we have note cards for definitions because kids learn differently. And they are doing a great job. We're skipping this Thursday because it's a choir concert, right? And those kids that were here, I let them go, as you guys heard, because they're an AP test. They're choir kids. They're for every kid under the sun, right? So we are requesting to go to Indianapolis and come home through Nashville in October. A little bit shorter trip than our last one. And I would like to remind you guys that actually the state championship in FFA is very difficult. It's actually only the 10th one in the history of Evansville FFA. We've done 2 in a row. That's a big deal. Yeah, prior to that, has not been that many since 1939. 10. So it is a huge accomplishment that those kids have done. There's some, you guys can look at some of these and stuff and pass them. I didn't bring it up for everybody to look at. There's plenty of those types of things. So that's our initial request for that trip. I think we're doing, our alumni will support us with some, with money. And we've got $1,000 for winning, and we'll work on some other funding resources to get them there and back for that trip. So that's the first trip. I don't know if you want me to do both trips right in a row here. Or do you want me to?
No, we have, they're on the agenda as 2 separate, so we need to act on them.
Okay.
Separately. That's in mind, so. So, thank you, Lisa.
I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Yeah,
about the types of
exactly.
things
Yep,
that
questions.
they learn or. And I've heard from several other teams that a lot of teams don't finish. It's pretty intense. It's a lot of understanding about how financials work. And they're pretty funny now because now they say they're liquid. You guys know what that means, but liquid means you have cash money available right now without selling something. So Tegan was getting money out for prom, and he says, well, at least I'm still a little bit liquid. So insolvency means over time, like if he had to sell his guitars. So they're using the language of the actual things. He's like, well, I think he had $8 left in his checking account. So he still has some liquidity.
So as financial education, with kids in my office on a pretty regular basis and teaching them about credit. I appreciate the ones who I can tell have come through the finance classes, the FFA, the DECAs, all of that stuff. They definitely have a part of their hands. And I would make a motion to approve the FFA travel to nationals.
Second.
Moved by Jennifer, seconded by Stephanie. Thank you. I'd also note that it's, I think it's worth noting, we talk a lot about money, that this is another trip that is privately funded. Obviously, there's appropriate support for Mrs. Hackett as a staff member of the school, as we support all of our staff members, and so obviously we can start that way. But the kids, all the things that we spend general fund dollars on for student travel, this isn't one of them. So I think that is definitely worth noting. Appreciate that you're asking that trouble. So anyways, that's my own aside with that, my own commentary. Is there other questions or comments? Questions or comments from the public? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say aye.
I'm sorry, I probably should have said this before. I'm going to abstain if I was at it while y'all were discussing this.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Go ahead. All right. And all opposed, same sign. One abstention, motion carries. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Sackett. And yeah, we'll roll right into item C.
Okay.
Yep.
So, the run team got second this year, and as part of that, award, they have traditionally gone on a trip where it's been called different things, but commodity tour or follow the green, and that is a trip where they will leave, and then we're gonna go through, I'll give this to you guys, we're gonna go through Lewiston, Walla Walla, on to Portland, clear out to Astoria, and basically the idea is following where our wheat goes. Wheat is one of the primary financial things that runs our state, right? So there's a lot of money in wheat that heads out. Actually, 80% of our wheat goes out of state and actually goes to the Pacific Rim. This is a trip that usually we go with the state officers because of conflicts with going to WLC. We're actually just gonna go, myself and the 4 kids. So I have already arranged, almost all of this is already done. But we are gonna go to a huge farm that does regenerative cropping systems in Lewiston first. The next stop is to go to grain grading at Lewiston, and then hopefully to the port of Lewiston. And you may not know, but that is the most inland seaport. Actually is a seaport in the United States. And then we're gonna travel to Walla Walla and go to their community college and look at their viticulture program, their John Deere program. When I was talking to their coordinator today, it sounds like she would like us for 2.5 hours so we can talk about all the ag at Walla Walla, and then on to Nelson Irrigation, which is a huge irrigation facility that does a lot of engineering of irrigation type things. And they're really cool, and I think it's super neat. I doubt that there's many high school kids that will be able to do this. We're going to the Wheat Marketing Center. Wheat Marketing Center is a facility that does research with people from around the world that looks at our wheat in the United States and works on products for their markets, like in Asia and Central America, et cetera. The cool part is when I call Kimberly, there is a team from China that will be working in that facility and working with research, and they will be finishing their research and working on their products, and we get invited to their presentation, and we're gonna hang out with the Chinese delegation that is there to understand and work with our wheat products. And we get to hang out with them, and I think that's a super cool opportunity for them. We're gonna spend the afternoon at the United Grain Terminal, and that's where the wheat is being loaded up in the giant ships that are headed out to the Pacific Rim or the rest of the world that the United States produces wheat for. We may make it, I haven't quite yet talked to the Shaver Transportation, is the tugboat company that's there. And then we're gonna head over to Astoria. And that, I think, is another really cool opportunity because that is where our wheat leaves and goes out. It is also, we're gonna go to the museum there and understand how difficult it is to move ships in and out of the Columbia River system and out to the ocean. And then because we are Montanans, we're really close to Fort Clatsop. I'm gonna take them down there to where Lewis and Clark spent their winter. As a really kind of cool side note, that the kids from Stevensville are gonna head literally right over Lewiston and head right out to where Lewis and Clark spent their winter time. And we're gonna follow that up coming home and go to hopefully Boyer Farms. I haven't quite made that call yet because I was arranging all the rest of this, and Mr. Conan set me up with that, and they're a huge farm there that does wheat, garbanzo beans, and peas. And if you don't know, Montana is the #1 producer of garbanzo beans and peas in the United States. So it's an amazing opportunity. We're gonna get some funding from the FFA Foundation. My one request maybe, if we don't have enough money, is to borrow the school van to take them on. And other than that, we are paying for the rest of it with that, and maybe some state for it, but again, no, I'm trying to fund request at all. And we're leaving June 10th, so I hope you say yes.
Which belongs with the mutual use. Whatever we
Well, yeah, chickpeas. Yeah, they're chickpeas. We're gonna call, yeah.
They're legumes.
Yeah, they're legumes. And then they have the pea market that heads out, a lot of those head out to Asia as well. The dried peas in the United States are headed out to be, you've seen them, the spicy Chinese peas in the supermarkets they head out to that. So, really cool opportunity for our kids to understand agriculture on a much larger scale than Little Valley County that produces houses rather than agricultural products. So, that's all.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the FFA astronomy trip. I'm listening to Oregon.
Jennifer, is there a second? Second by Bill. Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments? from the board?
Skip.
Skip, sorry.
Sounds like an awesome trip.
Yeah.
What did you do last year?
Oh, last year we went to nationals to compete, so this is the second place prize, so. Yeah, it's, I've been on a couple of similar trips with them. So, they're excited. And I think it's cool that our kids from Stevensville are excited to meet with the research folks from China. So I think that's going to be quite the experience. Yeah.
It was a whole new world.
Absolutely. Yeah, and most of our week, the week that we actually do produce, does actually go to the Pacific Rim. That's where 80% of our goes to, is the Pacific Rim. And to use the products for those folks in the world. So it's kind of a unique opportunity for the little kids. Even in Montana to see and understand where the influence of weed is in our state.
Those little kids are really big.
Yeah. They're kind of movers and shakers at the moment. Yes. Absolutely.
Further questions or comments from the board or the public?
I just want to say Trevor went on the trip as a state officer, and it was a phenomenal opportunity for him. And he just came back. I mean, his world grew, and I know it will for these kids too. So, I mean, it's a fabulous opportunity.
It is indeed. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shazat.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a request for interagency transportation agreement with VBEC for the purpose of preschool transportation. Allows us contracted transportation providers to operate within our district boundaries. This is an agreement that we renew annually, and I believe the agreement is in the packet.
Correct.
So,
It is.
Mr. Conan, anything else you can add, or it speaks for itself?
Nope, you did a good job explaining it.
All right.
It's annually.
I move to approve the transportation agreement with the River Valley Education Cooperative to transport students within the Stevensville School District boundary.
All right. It's been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Fran. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? And this would be elementary based because it's preschool. So. it's the
Yes.
Elementary district.
Although they, yes, yes.
Because it's for the preschool. So
Yep,
they're
yep.
transporting our elementary kids.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so Dan, how do you vote? Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran? I vote aye. Stephanie? Billy?
Aye.
And Skip?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, that'll move us on to, let's see, item E, the approval of the driver's education weekend schedule. So our driver's education teachers attended a convention. Mr. Coleman, maybe you want
Sure.
to elaborate on this? I'm not.
This is something procedurally that we haven't done in the past, that they went to a recent convention and reminded all school districts that were there that they need to make sure that OPI requires that if you're going to be teaching on the weekends, different from your school calendar, that you need to get approval through the board for driver's ed on the weekends.
No, interesting. Otherwise, it's compulsory education. You can't, like, you can't assign Saturday school kids. It's state law, stuff like that.
Right.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, the floor is open for a motion.
I move to improve driver's education, teachers working with students to garner their driver's education on the weekends. Second.
Moved by Fran, seconded by Jennifer. Question or comment from the board? Question or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item A, I've asked us to approve a contract, which is in your packet. Changing responsibilities for the stipend position for Infant Campus, giving that stipend to Katie Cardoza for the upcoming school year. And the stipend amount of $5,000 for that work to be the district Infinite Campus Coordinator Administrator. Floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve Katie Cardoza as the district Infinite Campus Administrator for the 26-27 school year as presented.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. Item G asks us to approve the district curriculum coordinator contract. Beth Schreiber, that would be a renewal of a position that she's currently in, which carries a $7,000 paid stipend for that work in addition to her regular salary. Floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve Beth Schreiber as the district curriculum coordinator for the 26-27 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Fran and seconded by Billy. Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item H, request a transfer of school safety funds to building reserve, which was set up by Senate Bill 213 a few sessions ago that allows that to happen. And this, since we have two districts, we have an elementary request and a high school request.
Yes.
In the elementary, the request would be to transfer, let's see, are we doing transfer funds from adult ed and bus appreciation?
Correct.
The total of $58,321.94 to building reserve fund for safety.
Correct.
Are there we'll open the floor for a motion and take questions.
A motion for the transfer of funds from adult education and bus depreciation funds totaling $58,321.94 to the building reserve fund for safety in the elementary.
There's a second.
Second.
So moved by Billy, seconded by Stephanie. Questions from the board? Ellie?
How much is the school resource officer and how much of it is, cameras and doors and?
So
split on that?
the school resource officer's salary is, or the portion that the Stevensville district pays, is broke down in between elementary and the high school. And it is in your board packet also. There's a form in there that does show the breakdown of it all. Of how much is the security.
I'm happy to get a school resource officer, but when you sit here listening, we have busing problems. Cameras and door locks are absolutely full security. They do absolutely nothing if somebody wants to come here and harm a student. We can video the aftermath, but the door locks and cameras absolutely do nothing. Furthermore, the system that we're using, we listed on here, the C3 system, E3 Emergent, basically they're into behavioral analytics, student tracking, keystroke activity, behavioral data, all this stuff is stored on Amazon Web and Microsoft Web Services. Because they're a partner in education now. So this stuff is out there all the time. It does, if it did something to make students safer, I think that'd be great. Number one thing that every safety expert I can find that says is student, teacher, and student-parent relationships, so they create a safe environment. So I would be happy to fund a school resource officer, but when we record money everywhere else, I don't think more cameras makes anybody safe.
Further questions?
I know it's not, yeah, thank you. It's not split up like that, I guess.
I agree with I think connection builds, what's the word I'm looking for, self-esteem. It builds safety. It helps our students feel more accountable, seen. It increases mental health and well-being, right? So, I think you're spot on, Tony. I think that we live in a world though that we're not gonna function without door locks and cameras, and how we're gonna pay for everything going forward is a conversation we're definitely currently having, especially after the tech levy. I think you're bringing up good points. I think with our current plans, we want to look forward and see where we're going with all of our systems and doing a deep dive as you guys are doing. I think that's good and attentive, but I think this is where we're at, and I support these funds being moved over to help provide safety for our students.
Ben?
Yes.
Sure, if I can speak. By not funding that piece of it, I think we're pulling away tools from our administration that they use to be able to do their jobs. You don't have cameras in the school, you're not able to find out specifically what's happening in certain places. Then you're setting administration up with parents and other students if we don't have the video to be able to tell what happened in certain incidences of what's going on. And so I can tell you firsthand from being assistant principal last year, I used the camera system all the time and was totally fed up with the fact that we didn't have cameras in certain places on our campus, or it wasn't very good. I can tell you that the camera helped me solve a lot of situations that sped things up. That even though I like doing stuff face to face and interviewing kids, the camera piece also backed it up. So then when I worked with families and parents on these situations, that it's right there. And I would have a hard time not having a camera system on campus for that. I think our society, even though I agree with you on anyone can get in here if they really want to get in here, if we don't have those type of setups, I think families would not feel as safe as they do having locked doors and camera systems. So the fact that this district chose to create an environment where we have connectors between our buildings helped out tremendously. I can't imagine how many buildings this campus was before those connectors, where people are outside having to go from place to place. That's better than what it was, but I highly recommend that we use this money for these recommended items.
Is there an option to have a camera system that's not under subscription? I find to have the cameras.
They're not
My big deal is paying a subscription where it's never ending and growing money by the day. In sincerity, not for against, but is a subscription a major benefit in a subscription as a camera when you want to look at it? Why is looking at a camera footage from a subscription different than looking at camera footage that's not on a subscription?
So the money here for this is not for the subscription. It was for updating some equipment that needed a little bit of updating and updating some of our card readers that needed to be updated. It was not for a subscription for the cameras.
But our cameras are under subscription.
I don't believe they are.
They were. Are we with Verkada or with who now?
Oh,
We're still with both.
Yeah.
The
with both.
Vigilon
I don't know the full.
That was Dave's.
Okay. Right. This here though that we're presenting tonight,
These are not under subscriptions, is that?
pieces and parts of it are, yes. But this here in front of you tonight is not about the subscription. The monies here is strictly for maintenance and some upgrading of some equipment and putting in some more cameras in some places that it needed to be put, and some more door readers in places that they needed to be.
How much is in bus depreciation?
I don't have that on me, but it was, I looked it over with John and Bill, and we felt that those were the safest places to take it from. Because we're limited on where we can take it from, and for those that don't know. And so my only other option was transportation, and that wasn't really an option this year.
And we loaded it more with the elementary bus depreciation in the high school because we just purchased that new bus with the high school.
And used the majority of it, yeah.
So is E3 Emergent the contractor that's putting it in there?
No,
Okay.
no.
E3 Emergent is the company that we've been using that we got a grant from the state to pay a portion of that, and that's what sets up our emergency plan protocol. So when something happens, we have your phone goes off and you have to mark whether you're safe or not, and it gives you the protocols on immediately on your phone of what to do. Tells where all the staff members are at, and we have maps of all of our places. It's a tool. In fact, I think 4 of the 7 schools in the valley use it, but it's used a lot across the state too.
They're just listening. That's where I got some of the information was off of that. Because they're a massive company in the safety, school safety space. They do every piece of data analytics there is. Thank you.
Yep.
Further question or comment? Further questions or comments from the public? I apologize for not knowing the bus number.
I know, I don't know it off the top of my head either, and I had intended to bring it with me and then forgot it, but it was in an okay standing for us to take we all felt comfortable with it.
I will be voting to support this here in a moment. I do want to see us protect that fund for reason for other discussions that we've had in the public sphere.
Yes.
So not entitled.
Yes.
Discussions around busing.
Yep.
All right. If there are no further comments or questions from the public or the board, Skip, how do you vote? Aye. Billy? Aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
I vote aye. Pam?
Aye.
Tony? Aye. Dan? Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda asks for a fund transfer from adult ed and bus depreciation in the high school district, $21,821.95 to building reserve fund for safety. Is there a motion? Jennifer?
Second.
Second by Billy. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Procedurally, we are then required to provide readings and notice of the approval of a budget amendment. You'll find those in your packet as well. These then get published, I believe, to the newspaper. And
We have to do it twice. This is the first reading. Yes, and this will be the first reading.
Yep.
Yes.
And then they won't get published until the second reading. So this will be the first reading. If you want to read the exact language, it's in your packet. Essentially, it talks about the $58,000 in the elementary and the $21,000 in the high school district. So being asked to approve the budget amendment for the elementary district, the floor is open for motion.
I move for the approval of the first reading of the elementary district budget amendment as presented.
Stephanie, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tony. Is there questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony? Aye. Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. And Skip?
Aye.
Motion carries. Same item in the high school, the budget amendment, subject to 2 readings and then notice publicly, $21,821.95. Floor is open for motion.
I move for the approval of the first reading of the high school district budget amendment as presented.
Second.
Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item K on our business action agenda tonight is a certified staff member request for leave without pay, requesting a single day of leave without pay coming up here Friday, or a Friday later in May. A staff member is Ellen Kern. Information is in your packet on the use of these 15 discretionary days that are provided in the CBA. The floor is open for motion.
So moved.
Tony, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Billy. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? Elementary staff member here. Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
And Skip? Motion carries. Item L asks us to approve the audit, which is the bulk of our packet. I don't know how many pages, 150.
It's a lot.
This is the audit that was performed a year ago under Superintendent Tennis and Business Clerk McLaren. And so there were a number of recommendations that came out of there. Hopefully you read through that audit, or as much of it as you can get through. But I do think the recommendations are worth noting, and I appreciate that our current business clerk has already noted some follow-up on that.
Yes.
So I think that, to me, that was some of the most important stuff that those are being looked at. So obviously this is huge and there's a ton to look at. There could be questions, but we do pay about $30,000.
Yeah, it is a lot,
For these
yes.
100 pages here.
Yes.
Each page is worth several dollars. So
And I'm happy to quickly explain what the corrective action plan was and what the findings were for our district. The first one was student activities, internal controls. There was nothing that has been done incorrectly. Their recommendation to us per se was that there is not enough data or information coming in from like fundraisers and things like that. So we have already shifted what we're asking our staff to do and what they turn into us. The other that they are recommending is that, and we've already implemented this, where I am now signing off on all monies in and out along with Lorraine, who is the ABS clerk. So we are making those changes already internally. Encumbrances, this one in particular had to do with the high school parking lot. As much as I know about this, it was all discussed in the spring last year, and the money was allotted from 24-25 school year monies. However, the PO was never wrote for it until Superintendent Conan and I came into place. Therefore, that didn't match up with the money being encumbered. And so we just, not that big of a deal. We know what needs to be in place. We are already taking action for anything that needs to be encumbered for this year to ensure that that doesn't happen again. Title I eligibility. What happened with this one is we changed platforms from AimsWeb to IXL. So we had a couple of students that we did not have the original data that they were asking for to show that they were targeted students. I forced the auditor to look at the data we had, and they admitted that it showed that they were targeted students, but it wasn't the original data. In the change in platforms, we lost the original data and no longer had access to it. So we have, with the help of Ms. Schreiber, we are putting in a protocol in place that all of that will be hard copy printed each year, along with hopefully backing up that data, and we'll know if we ever change platforms again. This did, however, prompt a state title audit. So we will be beginning that. I've already got the preliminaries on that, and we will be starting that audit in August. The previous findings that were not repeated, there was a non-routine transactional item, and that had to do actually with the sale of the buses to Harlow's and how those were coded. The auditor did not like that, so when Ms. McLaren was in, she changed what they asked her to change that. And then the enrollment piece was, there was something on the A and B, which I have been told happens at times. This is one that is seen often, or not often, but has happened at various times. And so we are working closely with the secretaries to ensure that hopefully that doesn't keep happening. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And Bill Sheely had told me that it has happened numerous times over the years. And so, yeah, we just do our best to try and ensure that. So I'm happy at any time to answer any more questions with that, but we have already implemented and are working on protocols. We are working on our letter to the state. We have to give a more detailed one, and we are working on getting that completed. So any other questions on the audit? It was a very big learning curve this year on that. So
I would, just the 3 minutes you shared with us there about the depth and breadth of things beyond just finances, compliment. I do not think most first-year business clerks could speak to that compliment. And knowing what's going on in the education piece too.
Again, I really want to acknowledge the team and Glenda for the amount of hours they had to put in. The auditor had, the company had a new auditor there, and she was very task-oriented. And Bill, who's been in this business for many moons, said that's the most thorough I've ever had an auditor go through our stuff before. And so I really want to commend these guys for the amount of every question had, a certain X amount of time of research to find it, and then to solve it, and then to, if we had to put something in place, there's just so much time that was into that, and took you away from getting to do other stuff too. So
yeah.
Thank you, and now we'll be ready for the title audit.
Yes, and then this audit starts over again in August. So we'll just start all over again. But no, it being a first-year team all together, there were days I had all 5, 6 of us, including Bill. We stopped everything for days on end to work on, and I can't say enough about. We have an amazing team in there to work together and get things done and help implement changes that are just better for the entire district. So.
Thank you. Floor is open for motion.
I make a motion to approve the audit for the 24-25 school year completed.
Thank you, Fran. Is there a second? Seconded by Tony. Further questions about the audit from the board? Questions or comments?
Just comment, deeply impressive, so thank you for not echoing, but that was work, masterfully done.
Thank you. Thanks, yeah.
Emotionally, as much as everything else, you know you've got the rest off.
Yeah, thank you.
Is Bill starting to think that he's never going to leave ever?
No, actually, I do believe that Bill will be starting to phase out this summer. So we have started talking about that and kind of started working on a little bit of a plan. And so his wife is retiring this summer. So I do think he will start to phase out, but also do some check-ins with me to help in those areas that, yeah. So.
Questions or comments from the public? All right, all those in favor of approving the audit for the 24-25 school year as presented by Nexus CPS Group, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. Thanks again, Linda. All right, we'll move on to
policy.
Yeah, we are on policy. Okay.
Yes.
We're on policy. First readings 1441, 3210, 3612, and 5460. Attendance policy, student discipline, district provided access to electronic information, and employee electronic mail online service usage policies. First reading, these will come back again for second reading. So the floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve the first reading of policy 1441, 3310, 3612, and 5460.
Second.
Moved by Jennifer, second by Stephanie. Questions from the board? Questions or comments? Anything from the policy committee to add? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor of approving 1441, 3310, 3612, and 5460 for first reading, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. Moving on to second reading of 1425. We saw this at our last meeting. This clarifies new board members can abstain from voting. Floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve the second reading of policy 1420.
Second.
Moved by Jennifer, seconded by Billy. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? This will be approved, this will be fully approved if we. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policy committee is recommending the removal of policy 1420F, notice regarding public comment. It is a redundant policy that is already covered between policy 1441 and 1420. This vote would remove 1420F from our policy handbook. The floor is open for a motion.
May I ask a question? I can do it after the motion.
Yeah, let's make the motion to move the question.
I move to approve the removal of policy 1420.
Moved by Jennifer, second by Tony, for questions or comments from the board.
My question is, I do agree that in large part it's redundant. And I also think that there's part of 1420F that we do not do. So I think we're on the right track here, but there is some language about rules around public comment that is in here that is not showing up in some of the other policies. So I'm just wondering if if you guys have had, I'm just wondering about more information about that. Like, I think the information, the words I'm looking for are, where are they going? But talking about how during public comment, I forgot my notes, I had it marked. It's the stuff that talks about that we can't infringe in individual rights of privacy, provide comment, and the other rules around it.
There's a lot of extra stuff that we had in ours that BIA did not have in hers. And that's kind of been where we've been going with policy, is looking at BIA's and adopting hers for the most part, because she's our legal counsel.
Yeah.
And so we did notice that kind of thing, but we didn't feel like that we needed to have it in there if it wasn't a BIA's policy. That makes sense?
It does.
Am I correct on that?
I believe so. And 1420 F means it should be a form.
Right, and it's
Which it's not. It was something we added at some point and is just not something that is necessary because we have that covered elsewhere.
Excellent. So I do like the views policies are a little more streamlined, I guess, and they're so much more streamlined. So are we covered enough with some of that extra language that was in there that is in, like on our agenda and narrative that talks about the rules on public comment? Is that ample? If it's not, whatever piece of policy.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was, part of the small and
if we have it listed out, if we have some of that spelled out on our agenda, to the public, here's the rules, and like a few of those pieces are not spelled out specifically in policy. Is that okay that we have this out here and we can enforce it even if we don't have it?
That's a good point, because I don't know that in policy we really looked at what was written underneath.
But I don't think, we don't have anything on our agenda that spells out public comment.
Yeah, there is something.
That's-
It's on our agenda, it's in the back of the room, yeah. And then I state what I state.
Well, I know you stated.
Yeah, no, it's on the table back there. not being on the policy committee, so I don't want to speak for the work of the business, but I do wonder if this is appropriate to remove as being suggested, because board policy does not need to ever repeat what's in state law. So if it's, state law says what public comment is through Montana's open meeting law, we don't have to then have double up on the policy, it's just a law.
The only thing that, just glancing at this, Stephanie, the only thing that I think that I don't think they conflict. There's no conflict. I do remember us talking about, and here we state that we limit, but it does, that is something additional that we add into that as a district. Like, that is not in state, it just refers to, I don't remember the language, but it's something about link fee or something.
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't go into very
Public
hard
meetings are allowed to, that kind of thing. Right. And we have not set a 3-minute clock since Kathy did a couple meetings in 2020 during COVID. That's the last time we set a clock, that I remember.
I think that answers your question.
No, well, I mean, it does, but specifically, I just want to make sure that we are good on, protecting individuals' rights to privacy. Students and, staff, and other things that could come up during public comment that we asked them not to.
Yeah, I just off the cuff, it would have to be sent back to look at it and make sure. But I'm pretty sure that we covered everything when we looked at it.
I know you guys have.
I believe that's part of the law, and so that's not, and so we would not need to have it spelled out in policy.
And a lot of these policies have moved to that direction. Like, we have lots of words in our policy that are not necessary.
Yeah, and I love the policies, but I also like and it sort of gives us also like, place to building up the future. But then also like we have a lot of parents, families, community members that look to our policy to see exactly what the guidelines are, so that it doesn't spell out. It's outlined if we want.
It is a line, and we actually did talk about that in policy committee a couple of times, and people need to do their due diligence, right? Like, those annotated codes are down there, they might have to look at the annotated codes and take an extra step. So I do remember us talking about that sometimes the public needs to do more due diligence and making sure that they're looking deeper than just our policy. We do note it on there, and it's noted on there for a reason. And they might need to just research it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you filling the question.
Further questions from the board? Questions or comments from the public? All those in favor of removing policy 1420F from the district policy book, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item N on our agenda tonight calls for the canceling of outstanding checks. District policy allows checks that have gone uncashed for over a year to be canceled and taken off the books. And Linda has found checks that are 9 years old that have never been cashed. So
That is correct.
student balances are student accounts of totaling $1,784.80. District checks, payroll checks, believe it or not, totaling $3,883.88. And none of these are even close to a year old, if anybody's curious to follow over.
Yep.
And general purchase order checks to businesses totaling $2,502.11. So the floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve canceling the outstanding checks as presented.
For a second? Sorry. Moved by Fran, seconded by Tony. Questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Moved by Jennifer, seconded by Tony. Questions or comments from the board?
I'd just like to comment that we have been doing a lot of cleanup in this area, and we did go through, and you would be surprised at how many payroll checks were out there for current staff, that we were able to get them to sign an affidavit, and we were able to get them that were less than a year old. So we have all those cleaned up. Our last step was to clean up these really old ones.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the public? All in favor of approving the, yes, Stephanie?
No, but it was a raised hand.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the outstanding checks that are well over a year old as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. Item O of our action items is the consideration of any action that is needed result from the board self-evaluation. In your packet, you have the evaluation from the trustees that completed that, and any comments that were provided there that went with that. And there were trustees that reached out that ran out of time. There were trustees that reached out that were locked out of their technology and could not complete it because it was a technology-based survey. And there were trustees that said something about the printing of the packet might have cut a couple things off, and so we had shared that with everybody that way. Again, it's public information, and at minimum, we need to move to accept the results. And an appropriate motion could also include recommendations for what to do with those. But it is an action item, and so at minimum, we need to have a motion to accept. Of course, that doesn't have to pass, but we have to have at least a motion. So.
I'll move to accept the board evaluation results and refer them to the governance committee for further discussion.
Second?
Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comment from the board?
I'd just like to apologize to the board for not getting my act together and missing the deadline, and
Thank you.
I'm with you, Jen.
Thanks, Billy. Further questions or comment from the board on our own self-evaluation? Questions or comment from the public? All right, the motion is to accept the results and refer them to the governance committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our second to last item of the night is to select a date for the reorganization of the school board. Board policy requires that, and state law requires that we do this in 25 days of the election, which means we have to do it no later than May 30th, as the election is held on May 5th. And thank you, Gail, for being here with us tonight. Picking a date that works for you is probably most important. You can get a person be sworn in. Look forward to welcoming you to the board. Of course, other board members will be welcome to join electronically as our board policy allows. Linda.
And I messaged with the county today, and I will have the canvas results on Monday, the 18th.
On Monday, perfect. So that's another piece of information to look into that. So if everybody wants to get out their calendar, we can build a motion around that. Mr. Conan, I believe, shared with me earlier that his schedule in the upcoming next couple weeks would require an evening meeting, right? Your daytimes are full at this point to facilitate. So we could get at 7 p.m. So Monday the 18th is that, so anytime Monday the 18th or later, no later than the 30th.
And I think you would need Tuesday, the 18th, correct?
Tuesday the 19th would be great.
Yeah, Tuesday, the 19th would be a really, for us anyway, like, but what if that works for anyone?
7 p.m.
Yes, yeah,
7
I
p.m.
can do that.
A week from today.
Yep. So,
Probably a 20-minute meeting.
We'll have a couple.
We might throw some items on there.
Yeah, we might have a couple,
That's why I said.
especially because like hires and things like that coming through, yes.
Right. Other trustees? Would you like a different night, or you're okay not, or?
I'm okay.
You're okay not, right? It's totally.
I mean, if nobody else can go in, then I'm like.
I don't, at this point, I'm not hearing you whipping for quorum, it would be your own personal desire to be, and then we facilitate distance too, except for, that she would not be able to join you distance. But you're in
Yeah, if I can do something.
Yeah, or in person.
Thank you, Billy.
The floor is open for motion.
I move to have the board reorganization meeting on Tuesday, May 19th at 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Jennifer, second by Tony. Further question or comment from the board?
What was the question? Sorry.
What location?
Oh, let's do here.
Okay. Questions or comment from the public? All in favor of holding our annual reorganization meeting Tuesday, May 19th, 7 p.m. in this very room, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our last item tonight is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Billy. All those in favor? All opposed, same sign. We stand adjourned. Okay, we stand adjourned at 10:21 p.m.